Good evening, everyone. The time is 5:36 p.m. It is Tuesday, February 1st, and I'm going to call this special City Council meeting to order. Would the City Secretary please call the roll?
Mitchell,
Here.
Rizzo,
Sorry,
Ellison, Flores Kale,
Yeah, nice.
Bradshaw,
No, it's
Here.
Parsley, Tobias.
Here.
all right. 7 members present. We have a quorum. Next up, citizen comments period. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to come forward and speak? Seeing none, I'm going to close citizen comments period. It's now closed. Next up, executive session. I think it's you, Ashley. You were last? Oh, yeah, it was Yvonne. That's right. All right.
Pursuant to Chapter 551, sorry, can I see this? Yeah. Thank you. There was a download button covering it. Okay. Pursuant to Chapter 551 Texas Government Code, the City Council reserves the right to convene into executive session from time to time as deemed necessary during this meeting. The City Council may convene into executive session pursuant to any lawful exception contained in Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, including any or all of the following topics. 1, pending or contemplated litigation or to seek the advice of the city attorney pursuant to Section 551.071, Prairie Lake Strategic Partnership and Consent Agreement, 2451 West FM 150 Southwest Sunset Homes, BB PUD 807 West Center Street, legal claims and complaints made by John Ferrara, personal matters pursuant to Section 551.074 Ethics Compliance Officer, and convene into executive session pursuant to Section 551.087 Texas Government Code to deliberate regarding the offer of economic incentives to one or more business prospects that seek to have, locate, stay, or expand in or near the city. Project Crystal Clear, Project Fire Engine Red, Project Deep Golden.
Meeting back to order. There's no action taken during executive session. There will be no action taken now. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned. I'm going to let the tape switch over, and then we'll start our regular meeting. It's 7:02 p.m. It is Tuesday, February 1st, and I'm going to call this regular City Council meeting to order. Would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the City Secretary please call the roll?
Mitchell,
Here.
Rizzo,
Present.
Ellison,
Present.
Flores Kale,
Here.
Bradshaw,
Here.
Parsley, Tobias.
All right, all members are present. We have a quorum. Next up, approval of the minutes.
Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes for a special meeting January 18, 2022, and the regular meeting for the same date.
Second.
All right, it's moved by Councilmember Tobias, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Rizzo. We approve the minutes for January 18th. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next up, citizen comments period. At this time, we ask anyone in the audience who wishes to come forward and speak on any item to please do so. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes and that you direct those comments to the mayor and council. We also ask that you fill out a citizen comments form and submit that to either myself or the city secretary. I do not see any comments forms in front of me. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to come forward and speak? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close citizen comments. It's now closed. Next up, city manager's report.
All right, I am looking for our communications director. Yes, it is all right. There she is.
You're up, Samantha.
Give me
Sorry.
one moment here. We'll get this queued up. I'll get it queued up. We're good. All right, council, this is city manager report, and as soon as it rotates here. There we go. All right, first on the presentation tonight, I'd like to invite our fire chief, Kyle Taylor, to the podium to talk about the Center Street fire from last week.
Mayor, Council, good evening. I'm Kyle Taylor, Fire Chief, for the record. I brought Adam Laird with me. He's the captain. He was in charge of the incident from start to finish, pretty much. So he was the first officer on scene if you have questions about what they initially saw. Just a brief recap, we got the call about 1:52 in the morning. Cal Police Department, they spotted smoke in the alley between this building and Papa Jack's. They arrived on scene about 4 minutes later, and they encountered heavy smoke, zero visibility inside Papa Jack's. They tried to pull ceiling and get to the attic, but the building's been remodeled so many times, there were multiple ceilings, multiple attics, which is very common in older buildings like that. So eventually the conditions went through the roof, and they called for an evacuation of all firefighters out of the building, and we went defensive. And the result is next door. So,
Thank you, Chief.
all right, y'all got any questions, anything?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, just one question real quick, really just a response. So Chief, I just want to thank you and your team for getting out there in such a timely manner, for giving it your best. It was sad to see our old Tenorials and the old lumberyard go up, but I know y'all did a great job. Y'all did y'all's best, and I'm just glad nobody got hurt, but thank you for always being there for us. Thank you.
We're trying to figure out what year the building was built. Does anyone know?
I think it was 1888, something like
Okay.
that. That's what the original build on it was.
Because we found pictures of it in the 1930s.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and there's pictures of it, you know, people lined up along a bar on the wall, so I remember that. But the building forever, for us growing up, it was the Tenorial's grocery store and the lumberyard, the Young family, and the Youngs actually were my neighbors for years, Chester Young and them. So, yeah, definitely it was really hard to watch it go up in smoke, and it
Yeah.
definitely had a lot of memories there. So, yeah, so thank you for all you did, and
absolutely.
your team as well.
Councilmember Ellison.
Yes, I second the comments, both for there was no loss of life or injuries throughout that, but also want to second the thanks for you and your team, Captain, being there right on the scene and trying to address that situation, and certainly understand the need to go to the defensive. And unfortunately, Jack's Access, the business next door that hadn't even come to fruition, had a total loss, I'm assuming, as well, on
Yes.
both buildings. I guess probably the question that most is asked is, are we aware yet of what started it, or we're still too preliminary for that?
The county fire marshal has pretty much stopped the investigation. They know where it started. They just do not know exactly what started it. It started above the kitchen in the attic, but there's so many different, there's air conditioning units up there, there's all kind of stuff that was up there, and it's so destroyed that they can't come to an exact decision. There's nothing suspicious about the fire. It's ruled purely accidental. So the insurance investigators were in there today, just looking around to see if they could identify us an exact cause. I haven't heard back from them yet on what they found. So.
Yeah, thank you, Chief.
Okay.
Oh, Councilman Tobias.
Thank you. First of all, one of my thoughts and prayers go out to those businesses that were lost. I know it's devastating for them and their employees, and we're just very thankful that there's no loss of life in that. Could you let us know how many outside agencies responded and how many total firefighters responded as well?
We had at one time, I think, 45 firefighters on scene. We had North Hayes County Fire Rescue, South Hayes Fire, San Marcos, Austin, Buda, and I think that was it. Is that it? Yeah, and then we had Hayes County CERT helping us out, Hayes County Office of Emergency Services. KPD was a huge help. Public Works is also a huge help. Our dispatchers kept up with us the whole night somehow, so they did an amazing job.
Yes, and thank you very much. And for all those outside agencies that showed up from San Marcos and Austin, Buda, and for the emergency response team, thank you so much for assisting us in this devastating fire. And what was the total, how many hours did it take for it to be considered code 4?
We declared the fire out around noon, so almost 11 hours.
11 hours. It's taking that long. Wow. Well, again, thank you very much for,
Yes, sir.
for responding, and to all the patrol officers out there helping out, fire departments from all over. We appreciate the help.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Councilmember Florescale.
Thank you. Can I have Captain also come up?
Sure.
Sorry. I just wanted to say my personal thanks to you guys because you're here, but to the whole fire department. I've expressed to you before that there's not enough thank yous and appreciation that we can show to you guys. For some reason, this hit me extra hard. So I just wanted to say thank you and that you guys are appreciated. And along with the rest of the people who came out and helped and assisted the first responders, some of which are volunteers. So it means a lot to the city, as a resident, and as a council member. It means a lot to me. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
All right, I think that's got it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. And, during large structure fires, one of the big things is the adjacent structures. So this building was saved also, really with no harm. But I do want to call out, we've had some staff who were here and made sure that this building was okay as well. So Tim Cropley, our facilities manager, was here basically through the event. And there was quite a bit of smoke in the building, and he got a company to come out and remediate that through the weekend. So big thank you there. Our IT department was here making sure that our servers and electrical was safe. So anyway, a huge lift from everybody with that event.
Yeah, from staff, from Public Works who came out and brought the excavators out there, got to witness them come out and
Type
take
2
all the debris
barricades.
out and everything so we could make sure the fire was completely out. But Tim and his guys all weekend long, every day that I came out here, Tim was here, personally here, and they were working hard. Just everybody that worked, parks, for cleaning up the streets. I mean, I can go on, our officers for blocking off and keeping the area safe. I mean, it was a team effort, and Team Kyle showed that when they come together and everybody works together, we can get the job done. So definitely a lot of kudos go around.
Yeah, we had a pretty important meeting that morning and nowhere to meet, so PD let us use the interview room, which was the first time I've had a meeting in the interview room. It was great. All right, next on the city manager report is the annual city council visioning workshop. This is just a reminder. It is on the weekend of February 12th and 13th in Frisco. We will send out an itinerary hopefully the next day or two, but finalizing all the details there, and again, more information to come to council soon. Now I'd like to turn it over to Councilmember Ellison for an update on Dialogue for Peace and Progress and Black History Month.
Yes, thank you. We're coming up with our 5th edition of the Dialogue Series for Peace and Progress. This one's celebrating Black History Month this Friday at 7 p.m. here in the council chambers. You can also watch online, Spectrum 10, our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, our website. The purpose of this is to have a panel discussion about various different topics relating to Black History Month and other things local to our community. And it gives an opportunity and a platform for those in our community that we don't typically get to hear from. And so I encourage anyone to either watch here at City Hall or online, but the great thing about anything we do in these chambers, they're all archived, so certainly you can watch it anytime after the event as well. And this is the city's official Black History celebration. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Mariana Espinosa up to talk about great opportunity here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mariana Espinosa, Parks and Recreation Director. We have our first Valentines Dance for people of all abilities next Saturday. We currently have 25 spots left, still open. It's a max of 75 participants. It's from 6 to 8. It is free, open to the public, all ages, and it will be held at the Krug Activity Center in Mary Kyle Hartson Park. And then next month, from March 14th to 18th, we have our second annual spring break camp for kids ages 2nd grade through 9th grade. We currently only have 1 spot left in the 2nd to 5th grade age group, and we have 5 spots left in the 6th to 9th grade age group. That camp will also be held at Mary Kyle Hartson City Square Park in the Krug Activity Center and outdoors in the park. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana.
Yes, sir. Oh.
All right, thank you. And now we have Sandra Duran, Director of Human Resources.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Sandra Duran. And I would like to welcome a few Parks Maintenance Technicians that we have on staff, Raymer Sanchez, Frank Rodriguez, Terry Martin, and we also have a Parks Equipment Operator, Justin Garza. So welcome to Team Kyle. Go team.
I like that picture.
And that concludes the report.
All right, thank you very much. All right, next up, presentation, agenda item number 4, Black History Month Council Proclamation. Councilor Ellison.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm glad I had another chance to speak on this because not only just the Dialogue for Peace and Progress, but we have an amazing display at our library. As soon as I said that, I looked over at Paul and I was like, how did you not bring up the library display? We've got a great display at the library all this month, as well as I think we're putting together some videos, reading displays. We've got a special person that we're interviewing that has a great history in the city of Kyle and has served this city in the past. So I won't spoil who that is, but keep an eye out for our Facebook page and our library Facebook page for a number of those relations to Black History Month. So this is the 5th City Council proclamation I've written for Black History Month, and so it's my honor to do that, and thanks to the council for their continued support. City of Kyle City Council proclamation. Whereas, after starting as an idea for ways to celebrate African American achievements 9 years earlier, in 1924, a celebration that eventually was renamed to Negro Achievement Week began the outreach, and the outreach was significant, but the desire for a greater impact also persisted. Quote, "We are going back to that beautiful history, and it is going to inspire us to greater achievements," end quote. By February 1926, this statement of historian Dr. Carter G. Woodson, along with that idea he and other prominent African-American figures had, would then become Negro History Week. Dr. Woodson chose February for reasons of continuing what was already familiar to many. Since 1865, black communities had celebrated fallen President Abraham Lincoln's birthday, and then by the late 1890s, former slave and prominent abolitionist activist Frederick Douglass's birthday, both occurring in February. This showed his true effort to extend the study of black history, not create a new tradition. Finally, in 1976, this celebration was expanded to include the entire month of February, and today, Black History Month garners support throughout the country as people of all ethnic and social backgrounds discuss the African American experience. And whereas the City of Kyle takes pride in its African American heritage that is also prevalent throughout our nation's history, producing examples of both subtle and forthright threads woven deeply into the fabric that is the United States of America. This can also be seen in Kyle within its entire scale of history, from the enslaved people at its founding to the courageous freedmen who settled in the area. And from the early traders representing business in Kyle to those who have served and represented this growing community in various capacities, including publicly elected offices like former council members Mattie Broadfoot Welch, Ray Bryant, and former Mayor James Atkins. And whereas the City of Kyle encourages the preservation of African American history and applauds the efforts of groups such as the Hays County Historical Commission, as well as individuals such as Ollie Giles, Winton Porterfield, and Gene Bagwell in helping preserve, restore, and maintain Kyle's former African American cemetery, now known as the Kyle Family Pioneer Cemetery, and being recognized as an official historic Texas cemetery. And whereas the City of Kyle joins in the unified endeavor of its community members around Hays County in paying homage to those that have helped carry on the resolute efforts in a continual reminder of the achievements and sacrifices by African American men and women who had contributed to the advancements of human civilization. And whereas this year's theme, Black Health and Wellness, chosen each year by the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, the same group founded in part by Dr. Woodson in 1915, offers a reminder to the importance of caring for both ourselves and the greater community's mental, physical health and wellness. And therefore, be it proclaimed by the City of Kyle that the month of February 2022 should be celebrated as Black History Month, in appreciation of the many achievements of Kyle's African American community and those across this nation and its history. Signed and entered this day. Once again, thanks to my colleagues and the support for this, and I appreciate the staff as well for helping in a number of different areas, as we mentioned with the library, with the Dialogue for Peace and Progress, comms team, and IT, and just the overall addition of continuing to be inclusive in our city. And we have a number of these proclamations that come through, and I'm always excited to support these. So thank you, Council.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, if anybody, typically it's customary for us to take a picture with the proclamation, so the council will stand up here, and if anybody who is in support of this proclamation would like to come forward in front of the dais, we welcome you. Don't be shy.
Stand right there in the middle. Thank you so much.
And we always have.
All right, next up is agenda item number 5, Career and Technical Education Month Proclamation. This is also one that I do every year at this same time. We're very blessed in our public school system to have a Career and Technical Education department that has been very focused on increasing educational and vocational outcomes for our students. And, you know, obviously our job market continues to evolve, it seems like on a daily basis, but one thing that's becoming more clear is that there are great career and technical education jobs available for students who obtain certain credentials immediately out of high school. There are opportunities to make a good living, and we're doing the very best that we can. Our CTE department in particular is doing the best that they can to make those opportunities available to as many students as possible. So with that, I'd like to read this proclamation. Whereas CTE Month is taking place during the month of February to honor students who have chosen to pursue career and technical education as a means of acquiring real-world skills to compete in the workforce, and whereas around 1.5 million Texas secondary students are enrolled in one or more career and technical education courses in 1,200 school districts throughout the state, and over 6,550 Hayes students are enrolled in CTE courses. 6,550 Hayes CISD students enrolled in CTE courses, which encompasses a variety of occupational fields, including agriculture, education and training, computer science, and healthcare. And whereas, in addition to gaining specific career-related knowledge, participants in CTE programs learn such essential skills as time management, problem solving, and critical thinking, which better prepare them for the challenges and opportunities of the workplace. These programs motivate and engage students by providing hands-on activities in which they can further their expertise and interact with community members, potential employers, and students and teachers who share their vocational interests. And whereas career and technical education is offering a path to success in the 21st century economy while helping to address the urgent need for skilled labor in high-demand industries, and it is enabling numerous Texans to secure gainful employment and lead productive, fulfilling lives, now therefore be proclaimed that the City of Kyle hereby recognizes February as CTE Month. And with that, I'd like to introduce the program coordinator for the Hayes CTE program, Ms. Susie Mitchell.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Thank you for having us here tonight. I want to start by introducing two of our CTE coordinators. Joe Henderson is our Workforce Development Coordinator. He works directly with the local businesses to set up student internships, career days, and even teacher externships during the summer. So our teachers can spend a few days doing some job shadowing. And I know he brought his business card, so if any businesses want to work with us, we'd love to work with you. I also want to introduce Matt Kelly. Matt is our Instructional Technology Coordinator. Matt works directly with our CTE teachers to install software, set up online certification exams, and last week he was even teaching a group of 8th graders how to build a computer. We are so appreciative of our strong partnership that we have with the City of Kyle. Together we formed a firefighter academy. We have students that will graduate with their firefighter and EMT certifications. We also have students that intern with the Kyle Chamber of Commerce, as well as many area businesses, including Seton Hayes. In CTE, we are really striving to get our students college and career ready for our local workforce. We offer many industry-based certifications so that our students are ready to enter the workforce upon graduation if that is the direction that they choose. Just a few of those certifications include cosmetology and barbering, ServSafe restaurant manager, OSHA 30, ASE automotive repair, AutoCAD, non-commissioned security officer, Adobe, Microsoft Office. I could go on, but I just want to thank you all for having us here tonight, and feel free to reach out anytime. I appreciate the partnership.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you.
Tell me, it wasn't 6,500 5 years ago, was it?
No, we've grown a whole lot.
It seems like every time I read that number, it doubles.
Yes,
So,
that's about true, actually. So we are very blessed to have a community that supports CTE. We really are. And Mr. Mayor has served on our CTE Advisory Council for years, so I appreciate that very much.
all right, thank you. Does anybody have any comments? Councilmember Flores-Kell.
I just want to say thank you. At a time where I think leaders and teachers are kind of like leaving that field, it means a lot to have you and I think it's Mr. Henderson and Mr. Kelly, yeah. And so it's truly appreciated. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
All right, you want to come forward for a photo?
Yeah, and I wanted to go back to a comment you made about the fire. I've been around a while because I remember when the Bonton burned down. So, yeah, it was in this block, wasn't it, in this location, I think. So, anyway, yes, let's do a photo.
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
All right, next up, agenda item number 5, Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month Proclamation. This is another proclamation that I bring forward every year. Some of the statistics regarding dating violence are kind of staggering. We have some good support groups here in our community, and as a result, I want to read this proclamation. Whereas 1 in 3 adolescents is a victim of physical, sexual, emotional, or verbal abuse from a dating partner, and whereas the effects of dating violence impact youth in all communities and cuts across economic, racial, gender, and societal barriers, and whereas respectful, supportive, and nonviolent relationships are key to safety, health, and academic success, and whereas by providing teens and young adults with education about healthy relationships and relationship skills, and by changing attitudes that support violence, we recognize that dating violence can be prevented, and whereas family, friends, teachers, coaches, faith leaders, community members, and other important people in young people's lives have the power to influence youth in positive ways, and whereas last year the Hayes Caldwell Women's Center provided 157 dating violence prevention and healthy relationships presentations to 3,141 teens and young adults, and whereas we must work together to raise awareness and promote healthy dating relationships with activities and conversations about mutually respectful and nonviolent relationships in our homes, schools, and communities. Therefore, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of Kyle, I do hereby proclaim the month of February 2022 as Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month for teens and young adults, and call upon the citizens of Kyle to work together to raise awareness and prevent dating violence in our community and beyond. Do we have anyone from the Hayes Caldwell Women's Centers here who'd like to come forward and speak?
Hi, my name is Kiara Nicholson. I'm a prevention coordinator at HCWC, and I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself too.
And I'm Sandra Gonzalez, or Sandy. I'm one of the legal advocates at HCWC.
Thank you, Mayor and members of Kyle City Council, for recognizing Dating Violence Awareness Month of February. HCWC staff and board would like to sincerely thank you for your time and effort in supporting our youth and young adults as they seek to develop positive relationships with their peers, partners, family, and themselves. Everyone involved with youth and young adults can strive to model healthy relationship behaviors in our interactions with them. We can help them lead us to a generation free of abuse and unhealthy relationships. Thank you for being a part of that change. Just as a person who does prevention education, I'm about 9.5 years working at HCWC, and a good portion of that was doing prevention education here in schools in Kyle. And we've had a lot of support from the city council and from the community in supporting youth and having healthy relationships. So I wanna personally thank you for supporting youth and young adults and having healthy relationships here in this community, because I know it's so important and it means so much to them. 1 in 3 youth will experience an unhealthy or an abusive relationship at some point in their lifetime. So we can support them in trying to make that number 0, because 1 in 3 is way too many. Something that all of us can do next Tuesday is Wear Orange Day. If you wear orange and you post a picture on social media with the hashtag Stop the Hurt or Orange for Love, we're even using the hashtag #WhatAboutLove. You can help promote healthy relationships and preventing abusive relationships within your community. We also have a pledge that you can sign on our website, stopthehurt.org, and it's a pledge to make a commitment to practicing healthy relationships and encouraging other people to do the same. So thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I was just going to add that, over the last 2 years in particular, the Hayes Caldwell Women's Center has been an important part of our community for a long time. But these last 2 years, the role and responsibility you've taken on has just been huge. And I know that there are definitely folks in our community who feel trapped in a new and unique way because of the change in lifestyle that we've all sort of experienced. And so the outreach is certainly extremely valuable in our community. So thank you for the work that you do. Is there anyone else who has anything they'd like to say? Councilmember Parsley.
Hi, so I just wanted to let you know how grateful I am for what you guys are doing, even talking to kids in school that probably not all of them get that communication at home. Some don't know what a healthy relationship is or what does it look like. So creating that awareness in children, it's something huge for our community to develop better. So I want you to know that I'm grateful for that, and we're here to support you. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Ellison.
I was just going to suggest, I love the idea for next Tuesday, you said, a week from today, with the orange. If council doesn't object, I think we could maybe promote that on our social media as a way to support that as well. I like the idea.
Thank you.
Councilmember Flores-Kale.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you guys for what you do overall. We took a tour, 2 other council members and I took a tour, and it was amazing. Sadly, what you guys offer is very unique. And so what it has to offer is priceless. Giving people an outlet or a place to feel safe is really amazing. And the fact that you guys are starting with the kids is gonna fix a lot of issues before they even start. So if at any point you guys need any kind of support, I beg you to reach out to me, whatever that looks like. If you guys are going to the schools, I want to go to the schools. If you guys are gonna, wherever you go, I'll go. So I just really appreciate everything that you guys do.
Thank you.
I just want to share that same sentiment. If anything we can do, just let us know. I've in the past, I've helped with relocation, so just remember, I got a truck and trailer, and I know some guys that would love to move furniture, so if you ever need that help, let us know. I'd be willing to do that again, so yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, we might actually call you for that because that actually is something in need.
Yeah, I've done it before, and they just stopped calling me, and so I was like, did they lose my number? They lose my number, so yeah, definitely, so, yeah, definitely, for sure. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, well, our goal is to break the cycle of violence, and we can't do it alone. We need everybody's help, the community's help. So, thank you.
All right, if y'all want to come forward, we'll do a photo. Anybody wants to come forward as well?
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, next up, agenda item number 7, update and presentation on Grande Communications service to Kyle. Gabriel Morales.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you very much for your invitation. My name is Gabriel Morales. I am the construction manager for the build that is currently going on in the city of Kyle. As far as the update is concerned, we currently have some active construction sites in Kensington subdivision, Sunset Hills, and we have completed Meadows of Kyle. We are also going into some new build areas. Anthem is going to be one of the subdivisions that we are going to be working with the owner developer in order to install our facilities. And really, that's all about it.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Morales? Councilmember Ellison.
I know my colleague, Councilmember DeBias, is going to have quite a few, so I'm just going to allow him to take that. But when you, just want to clarify, when you say that you all have completed in an area, does that mean you all have completed laying the line? Or does or does it mean that you all have completed putting the place back together where it was before you all got there?
When I say completed, there are two different pieces of it. There is the construction piece where we put in the infrastructure, which will be the conduit, the pedestals, cabinets. That is the biggest piece of the construction where citizens, residents, passerbys, so they're going to be looking at construction site, really. Once we get that into place, then what we do is we bring in our fiber optic cable, we string it through, we splice it, and then we activate it. That is another, kind of like the second completion. Once we test it, we verify it, make sure that it's up to specs, clear any discrepancies, we will release the area for service. At that time, our salespeople will come into the area, and they'll start, signing up people and seeing who's interested. As far as restoration is concerned, that's always an ongoing thing. Unfortunately, with construction, you're always going to have restoration, and it may not be able to, the length of the construction is going to depend. This year, I'm going to say the last 24 plus months have been very challenging for us, just due to the effect of the pandemic. It's affected our vendors as far as materials are concerned. It's affected our construction contractors as far as their workforce. Internally, we've got people that have been working remotely. We all found out how important internet is to have these data services during this time. But we're still going on. We're still moving forward with it. Restoration, I would like to think that we are going to have, there's going to be a period where we are going to continue to monitor after we release an area as far as serviceable, and to address the residents' concerns and try to make things back into place as what they were. Does that answer your question, sir?
For now, you're going to have a lot more questions answered, so I appreciate you walking us through the process and how that looks. Thank you.
There's not a set time frame for it, unfortunately. There's a lot of variables that are unknown at this time just because of everything that the biggest challenge that we're having right now is materials. trying to bring it in. And that is also with other service providers such as AT&T Spectrum. They're having the same situation, the same issues with it.
Councilmember Tobias.
Okay, thank you. All right. First of all, a lot of people have been expressing some great joy that we're having another internet service possibly coming, which would be Grande. So there's a positive side on that. I do live in the Kensington Trails subdivision myself. And so though as much as I appreciate the work that you guys are doing in there are some things that are coming up that I have been brought up to your manager as well, and things to be addressed. One, of course, is the yards that are being dug up and so forth, okay? A lot of residents are concerned that they will not be repaired. They have been told by workers that they're not responsible for that, so that raises concern on that end. Second of all, I think it's been addressed on a couple of times. It hasn't been that much of an issue, is parking in front of driveways. And some of the cars would be gone for a good while. And when somebody's trying to leave, they're not able to leave. So those concerns there. Other ones were communications. I've reached out to the city with Mr. Sellers because this is the first phase of this type of construction in Kyle. And what I'm hearing from the residents is they would really like to see better communication as far as a schedule by date, by street, and by section. So that way they can plan out their daily activities in case they need to park their car in the sidewalk, meaning in their driveway, or if it gets blocked, they want to be able to know as well. Other residents in the neighborhood of Kensington, some of them work at night, so they sleep during the day. So they may not know that there's actually construction that's going on in their street or somebody in their yard and so forth, because there's really not a specific scheduled day as far as what street they're going to work on that end. There is flyers that I know that has been placed on the doors, but it really doesn't give them specific information as like a time schedule of when the work would be completed. Another concern was possibly equipment left overnight. Now, I'm still trying to verify this, but I was being told by one resident that some people in the neighborhood were getting notices from the HOA stating that they're in violation of whatever code it is because of their yards and because of equipment being left behind in front of their house. We're still looking into that as well. But I think overall, if we are very glad that you guys are there and doing the work and doing it very efficiently. But those are just concerns that are coming up that I hope that we can be able to address going forward on that in there.
I appreciate it, sir. A lot of the information that happens out in the field doesn't really get to me. I should be in an office probably about 10, 12 hours a day looking at monitors and emails. And yes, my work schedule is basically on calendar invites. I believe I've got your email address, sir, and I'll hit you up on it. And if you could give me, just touch on that and stuff to see how we can improve on it.
Sure, exactly, because like, again, this is the first phase in our area, in the city, that you're hitting. My thing is this: what happens when y'all start hitting Plum Creek, and y'all start hitting Steeplechase, and y'all start hitting other areas? Those streets are a lot smaller than the ones we have there.
Yes, sir.
And so it could be something later on to where we want to try to prevent issues later on and having scheduled times and trucks and so forth on that end to where we can be ahead of the game and communications and so forth on that end.
One of the suggestions that has come up during our weekly update meetings for this type of work in resident occupied or what I call established neighborhoods already, would there be any objection if we place like proper signage maybe on the street that we would be working on? Signage, it wouldn't be a permanent, just temporary on the entry into the subdivision. Just listed and said, hey, this activity is going on. If there's any questions, comments, concerns, with a phone number that can be called.
I,
guess that would be up to you with the HOAs about that.
Well, I guess what I would say, I think there are lots of options available. You know, this council deals with this question of restoration after construction on a wide variety. So this is a conversation that we're very familiar with, and there's kind of two different camps. You know, there's the contractors who go in, and they sort of aren't really paying attention to the residents. They have a job to do, and that's their focus, and the residents kind of the noise. And then there's those who understand the job includes making sure that the residents are communicated well with and are considered. And so it sounds like there's some questions about where you're at in that and whether or not you can potentially move closer. My question is, you said that you heard from workers that restoration was not a part of the project scope?
Yes.
For the installation of the fiber. Is that right? Is restoration not a part of their scope?
It would depend on the agreement of our primary contractor and with the subcontractor, sir, but that is something I can definitely look into to find out what it is. We might be bringing in another project or another contractor for a final walkthrough, just to make sure that everything is satisfactory.
yes, because the concerns that were there were, of course, holes that were dug overnight, and some were covered, some were not. And just one other thing that was also brought up was there's been times where whoever contractor's working on the street, they'll hit a gas line or they'll hit an irrigation system. And, you know, the only time the residents really know about something going on near their house is when they see the fire trucks showing up and so forth. So I know it's a combination of all of us, including the city, getting that communication down, but I'm just addressing those are the concerns that we're seeing, or I'm seeing or hearing from and getting emails on and phone calls from this ground level of what's going on with the construction of the Grande.
Scott, you want to say something?
We're looking into it, but typically our public utility easements require the contractor to restore the land to original condition.
Right. I was thinking about the telephone poles up and down Center Street and elsewhere where in the utility easements, they were drilling holes and leaving all of the sort of the debris there as opposed to restoring it. And we certainly have, you know, a role to play in making sure that happens. So the answer to the question of is restoration a part of project scope whenever construction is taking place in a utility easement should always be yes, not it depends. It should always be yes. So anyway, Councilmember Flores-Cale.
Thank you. And just to kind of piggyback off of that, my assumption would be the same people that lay the lines probably aren't the same people that come and restore it. Is that correct? So maybe that got misinterpreted is what I would assume. Because I'm with the mayor.
That's very possible, yes.
Yeah, and I understand that misunderstanding is like, they're like, oh, that's not what, we're not gonna do that.
Right.
Because technically it's their job to lay lines. So, that's an assumption that maybe I got out of it. So going back to your materials issues, which we are a city and we are completely aware and understanding, or at least we should be. But my question would be, do you guys break ground prior to receiving those materials?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And so also is it going back to communication, which I think is the most important thing between Grande and the city of Kyle and their residents. Is it possible to calendar, which I know you said you got a whole bunch of calendars, with either our communications department or a staff member, just like, hey, we're gonna be in this neighborhood. I'm a fan of the sign. That way people can't say, oh, I didn't know, because there is literally a sign up front. But again, that's probably up to staff and not to us, although I would be all for it. Because not everybody has internet, or maybe not everybody has a Facebook, or however the city puts out their notifications. But I am overall really appreciative that Grande is coming. It's for us to get another internet provider is a huge deal. And I understand that there is going to be some kinks worked out. But I think we could fix that just by a simple phone call or a meeting or any kind of communication. Because I, for one, will never be angry that you guys are making loud noises. I mean, unless I guess it's before 8. Because you're going to provide us a service. Because what you guys are giving us the residents have asked for years. I mean, I've lived here almost 10 years. I remember asking for it 10 years ago. So I am very appreciative that you guys have decided to take a chance on Kyle, and that's literally what it is. And nobody else obviously has wanted to do that, including big companies like AT&T. So thank you very much. Once we get this communication, I think, figured out, we'll have happier residents, and then we'll have a happier Councilmember Tobias, and then we'll all around it'll be a better situation. So it's just, we've never had this before. You know, I mean, I'm sure when Spectrum laid their lines, it wasn't like this. You know, we're growing and we're aware of everything. So this is kind of a first time for us. So thank you for coming to Kyle, and I really hope that we can get the communication figured out.
Yes, ma'am, I definitely agree. Thank you very much for your compliment, and I will take it back to my upper management.
Okay, thank you.
Scott, do you have something you want to say? Yeah.
Ordinance says that the contractor should leave that property as good as or in better condition than before the work started.
Is there an inspection process that we undergo to ensure that ordinance is followed?
Our public works inspector typically does go out, but is not permanently on site, so I'm not sure how many times, but Philip has been, or I assume it's Philip. Yeah, who's been. Yeah, we do maintain the right to respect legally per ordinance, but we have been on site multiple times. LJA is the engineer on site who is your PM, who also has the onus to ensure that it's built properly.
Mayor Pro Tem Rizzo.
Okay. Thank you for being here tonight. First of all, I am going to reiterate what everybody says. It's great that we have an option in Kyle now. I'm glad that you're coming, but one of the things I'm definitely going to push on is we are going to restore everything to its original site, and that's no playing around. I want to see it done. We've seen a lot of utilities come into the city, whether it's here or in other joining cities, and they come in, they put in their fiber, they put in their water, whatever they're doing, and they're leaving sinkholes within 6 months. We've got sinkholes. So I want to make sure that we're restoring everything, and if we do have an issue later, I want to make sure we have a number that we can contact so we can hold those accountable that are needing to be held accountable, whether it's your subcontractors, because usually that's who it is. But I want to make sure that we have a number we can call and we can hold somebody accountable, because I don't want to be having to the city to pick up the bill for something a contractor did or some entity that came into town, because we've been doing that here lately, trying to track people down, and that's one thing I don't think we should be doing as a city. My next question is for Harper. Is Harper here? Harper, who oversees all the utilities that come into the city?
Harper Wilder, Public Works Director. So me and Philip, now it's Philip. Philip took the right-of-way permit position. So Philip's over all that himself, but before it was me and Philip.
But Philip is new to the job, correct? He's been doing the job, but it's a new department that we just created, correct?
Y'all just approved, and so we brought it to council. Council approved it, and we just started up. Though Philip has been doing the right-of-way permits with me. Philip is 20 years retired from City of Austin as an inspector, so he's very knowledgeable.
That's great. And the reason I was bringing this forward is to assure the citizens that before this, we didn't have that position filled. We didn't even have that position. Council created it so that we could keep an eye on all our utilities. The reason why is that we were having trouble with past utilities. And I'm not saying that was y'all, but just letting you know that we are going to keep an eye on it. We want to make sure that everything's restored, and that way later on the city's not picking up that bill or our citizens as well. So that's why we need to be a little tough on people sometimes. So thank you, though. Thank you, Harper.
Any other questions or comments? We're good? All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it very much. All right, next up, agenda item number 18, Kyle Academy Program Launch. Mr. Jeff Prado.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. This is Jeff Prado. I work in the engineering department. So tonight I'm excited to share with you the presentation and launch of our Team Kyle Academy program. So the Team Kyle Academy program is a 6-week program with the goal of informing residents about the city of Kyle and the public service. In years past, the city had a program like this where we had the residents come and spend some time with city staff and city council members to learn about the city and what they do on a day-to-day basis. So the program is active from April 25th to June 7th as of 2022. And classes are to be held on Mondays 6 to 9 p.m. and limited to about 24 residents. Entrance will be on a first-come basis. So the applications for this program will be available as of today. We are live through the website that's provided on the slide, and this will be available from February 1st to March 31st. And I wanted to also share that participation will be free. So the committee that formed this, or we started this program, consists of myself and multiple individuals from different departments, including City of Kyle staff, and a few council members, and Kyle Chamber of Commerce. So I want to talk about the curriculum as well. So we're going to have 7 classes during this program. Each class will focus on a particular set of things that the city staff will do. I guess infrastructure, engineering, finance, and we'll have folks from each department come and represent us on those days. In addition to the 7 lecture days, class days that we'll have we would like to have them at Kyle Council Chambers. The location may depend on availability. We might have to change to a different location, depending. But we'd also like to have 3 field days, and we'll provide a calendar each year that has the different events, and the participants will be able to select 3 of those. And typically they'll be off-site during normally city planned events. These could be things such as the Great River Cleanup, the Pie in the Sky Festival, maybe ribbon cuttings for the parks that we have upcoming. I want to give a special thanks to all the committee members. We have a large number of really intelligent, creative men and women that are a part of this program, and I'm very proud to be able to work with them on this. I'd like to see if you all have any questions that I might be able to provide answers to.
Councilmember Ellison.
I can't hide my excitement for this, all right? So follow with me, Kyle, and colleagues. I went through this program, I think it was 2014. Jerry May can help me with the year there, so about 8 years ago. I credit a lot of what I went into P&Z and went into council by going through this class. At the time, back in the Stone Ages when I went through it, we would go 1 class per month. It was 12 classes, took up the whole year. You had to make sure you went to each one of them. But they were so insightful, from going over to Public Works and playing on the equipment and picking up kettlebells and learning about what they do, to our library. And that's when I first just was enamored with Pervez and his knowledge in finance. And then we had conversations, I remember, with Mr. and Mrs. Bryant. Ray Bryant gave us the perspective as a council member. I think Scott had just come on board about that time as well. So I was just floored by all the things that were brought. It was called the Leadership Academy back then. And so I've been pressing for this to come back for a while. I know Jerry's been working on it. But one of the unique things I want to tell you all about, when I went through it, it was all the directors that led all the classes. And now this time, I had the privilege of attending some of the meetings led by Mr. Prado and the wonderful group. It's a new generation of Team Kyle leading it. And so Mr. Prado was the lead on this, and they had different representatives from our different departments come and put this together. There was a great group. I loved listening to their deliberation and figuring out how to make this work. I'll admit that I did press for it to be free. I think that's very important. It was one of those things when I was a young man sitting in the back of the council chambers and hearing about what was going on through Kyle. That is something that drew me into it. And the opportunity that the city was giving this information away for free to kind of take off the roof and allow a citizen to kind of understand what was going on with their local government was just mind-blowing to me. And so I'm so excited that this is back. I hope that the council feels the need to continue to support this and continue to support it financially, continue to support it through our comments and our words, support it in all different types of ways. But this is a really great opportunity for us. And if we can get more people to understand, I know we all do this. We talk to residents, we have conversations on various different things, and we learn from them, but the residents also learn from us. And I think that's one of the things that I commonly see when I talk to residents is I always said, man, I wish that Kyle Leadership Academy was back, because you would get to learn about a lot of these different things and the nuances that we have to deal with and the parameters that we have. So once again, I don't want to continue to belabor this, but I am obviously very excited about this. Kudos to you and the rest of the team that put this together, and I hope council decides to support this.
Thank you, Councilmember Elson.
Councilmember Parsley.
Is there any ages, minimum age that you have to be in order to join?
Yes, so it would be 18 years or older to apply. And I also want to add that the attachment that was with this item has more details. It expands upon a lot of these items, these bullet points, and that information is also posted on the city website in that link.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Flores-Kale.
Thank you. I've already reposted this on my Facebook today. I was like, I got the email and I printed this off probably a couple days ago. I guess I didn't really pay attention through all of it. But then when I got the email, which I really appreciate doubling up that information, I was mind blown. I was like, this is exactly what we need in order to clear up any kind of miscommunication. I know sometimes residents get this misconception that everything is paid through property taxes, or they ask all these questions about CIPs, and unless you're sitting up here, it really is hard to follow and you don't understand it. So by giving them an opportunity to have classes, I see the ones that I really like are the finance on May 2nd and then the infrastructure on May 16th. This is so exciting. And free is absolutely okay. You know what I mean? This is money that we're investing back into our residents. I had a conversation with Councilmember Tobias, and he was talking about finding new people to mentor to take our places, because we are not going to be here forever. And so it's so important to make sure that the next, as you said, the next generation, or maybe Councilmember Ellison said the new generation, which is what it's going to be. You know, we're not going to be our age forever. We're not going to be sitting up here forever. So maybe guiding other people into figuring things out instead of doing it your first year on dais, which I think a lot of people do, would be a real benefit to the city. So thank you. Can I ask who else is involved in this? I mean, who had a hand in this?
There's a number of folks that are involved. Alexander Baker, the list could go on. Amanda Flewitt, Parks. We have Parks, Public Works, Engineering, and I'm hoping to recruit more. Yeah, we have a Kyle Chamber of Commerce, Julie Snyder, and we have Ariel. Her last name escapes me, but we have a lot of really great folks on this.
Okay, well, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you, and hopefully this kind of clears the fog on a lot of misconceptions with the city and you know how the process works. So again, thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Flores-Kale.
Councilmember Ellis.
I'd be remiss if I didn't say that. I see one of my fellow students that went through the academy as well. I have a picture of us that I should give to you. Former Councilmember Shield also went through it, and our late great resident Susie Farrell was also in that class with me, and so great honor to be a part of that.
Anyone else? Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, next up, agenda item number 9, presentation regarding Scenic City Certification Program and Keep Texas Beautiful Affiliate Program. Mariana Espinosa.
Mayor and Council, many of you, Mariana Espinosa, Parks and Recreation Director for the record. Many of you may be familiar with the two programs that I'm going to briefly go over, the Keep Texas Beautiful program and the Scenic City Certification program. The Parks and Recreation Department has been working with several city departments on these programs that are part of our overall beautification efforts for the city. Both the Keep Kyle Beautiful program and the Scenic City Certification program have been presented to both the Parks Board, who have expressed interest in applying for both these programs. And with us tonight, we have from the Hays County Master Naturalist, Laura Lee Harris, and our Park Board Chairman, Amanda Stark, who are here in support of the programs. The Scenic City's mission is to support and recognize Texas municipalities that implement high-quality scenic standards for public roadways and spaces. Scenic City is a proven, highly regarded tool to Texas cities for assessment, evaluation, recognition, and infrastructure standards. The Scenic City program is a 5-year certification program, and after 5 years, it does include a recertification process. The cost to apply for Scenic City is $749. The other program is the Keep Kyle Beautiful program, and when we are an official Keep Kyle Beautiful affiliate, we'll be known as, or Keep Texas Beautiful affiliate will be known as Keep Kyle Beautiful. The mission is to inspire, empower Texans to keep our communities clean and beautiful. This program includes annual training for staff, as well as submission of an annual report. And the cost to apply for Keep Kyle Beautiful is $150. Okay, so Scenic City application process includes 12 sections. Only 3 of the sections are absolutely mandatory. All the other sections are optional, but each section will award us a different amount of points. So the more points that we're awarded, the different levels of certification standards we can achieve, such as platinum, gold, silver, bronze. These sections include topics such as parks, signage, streetscapes, landscaping, design, and graffiti. There's also one bonus section that we actually have a lot of items that we could submit for to help get us some extra points. We have already had an internal staff meeting with the Departments of Public Works, Engineering, Environmental Services, Code Enforcement, and Parks, and we have gone over the application process and the application requirements. Our internal goal is to have the application submitted by early to mid-April. Once the Scenic City Certification Program has an opportunity to review our application, they will give us our first set of scores in June. In July, we either have the opportunity to accept or reject our scores, and then in August, we will get our official scores. Once we receive our official scores, we will receive Scenic City certification at the Texas Municipal League Conference in October. The Keep Kyle Beautiful program has 7 sections, and we have already completed all but 3 of the sections. We've been working on this for almost a year and a half with staff and going back and forth and updating Park Board as we've gone. The Keep Kyle Beautiful program has sections including preparing a mission statement, establishing a budget, and creating a list of community volunteers. With that being said, we only have 3 sections left to complete, and we are on schedule to complete those 3 sections this month so that we can submit the application this spring. So with that said, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Rizzo.
Yeah, Mariana, what action are you looking for us tonight? Just direction or a motion?
Your blessing, and if you're like, no, we don't need to pursue these beautification effort programs, for that to be heard.
So I'm just gonna say then, I definitely think that you've got council's blessing. The reason why you have done a great job with the parks and trails. And I know, Kyle, as a city, we've been addressing the beautification, whether it's our sidewalks, our roadways, so we're already in that process, but to get some recognition for it would be great, to be able to put a gold standard on our trail system for the signage and everything else that y'all have worked on would be a testament to y'all's hard work, so you definitely have my blessing. I'm thinking council as well.
Councilmember.
And this is a citywide beautification effort, so include like the streetscapes and everywhere in the city, medians, landscaping.
Awesome.
Councilmember Ellison.
So this was brought forward at the Parks Board meeting last night, so there were some great questions asked by our board members of that. So that's where a little bit in the line of thinking I'm going on this. Could we go back? First, we'll start with the Keep Texas or Kyle Beautiful. Which three are the ones that are still outstanding that you said you all could
We are still
complete this
working
month?
on preparing our bylaws, getting the rest of our facts about our community, and establishing the budget.
Oh, okay. So administrative statement, term of restriction, board membership, development. You have a strategic plan in place. That's awesome. All right. Yeah, the Keep Texas Beautiful one, or Keep Kyle Beautiful, I like that as well. I think is certainly something I'm excited that you all have been working on, and we're at a point where we can submit for that. So yes, totally in support of that. Going to the scenic one, though, now. So you said out of that 11, if I counted correctly, those bullet points, achieving only 3 of those to some level of success is what qualifies for Scenic City?
Right, it would be the Section 1 streetscape, Section 3 on-premise sign ordinance, and Section 4 off-premises signage.
So those are the
Those are
3.
required.
Those are required?
Yes, sir.
And then the others would be additional to get additional points. And I think we
That's
could certainly
correct.
probably get that with our parks and trails and public spaces. I think there's some others that we probably have some room to improve and whatnot, and perhaps being a part of this would help that. You did bring up a point, didn't bother me, but you did bring up a point last night at the Parks Board in regards to billboards. You want to make that comment as well tonight?
Right, as I mentioned, we had an internal staff meeting where we did go over a brief overview of the Scenic City application and program and voice any concerns. And one of the concerns was signage. One requirement, we would not add any more additional billboards, but that we're still allowed to have the number of billboards we currently have. And we can place them anywhere, we just can't add any additional billboards. That was one of the concerns that was brought up.
Right, so you could move it from one place to the other, but
Correct.
no addition to your overall number. No, yeah, like I said, I think this not only is an opportunity for us to showcase, but it also is going to challenge us, which I think is equally, perhaps important there. Because I think there are some things that we probably have to step it up in order to meet this. The Scenic City seems a little bit more challenging to meet those requirements. But otherwise, I do appreciate this being brought forward. I appreciate the discussion by the Parks Board last night on it, and they were in certain support of it as well. So thank you.
I think it's ironic the utility and cable line program is on there. So obviously that's the topic of discussion today. Is the scope of that program in this proposal, would it address some of the issues that we were discussing with Grande Communication?
I have not gone through section 11 to see what they're asking for in that section, but like when we had our staff, our internal staff meeting, there were other city staff in there, and they may have looked at that section already. So I would definitely have to follow back up on that to see exactly what requirements are asked. Since it's not a mandatory requirement, I don't have that one committed to memory yet.
Well, do you have a sense of just of what the goal is? The goal to make utility lines?
So the goal for every section, including that one, is just to add all of our evidence of compliance. So we just add any ordinances, any policies, any programs that we currently have in place that meet utility and cable line programs. And then Scenic City certification will use what we've submitted to determine whether or not we receive any points for what we already have.
Well, I think that's an area that, and it's not Grande. Grande is just the new kid on the block. So it's, we've had issues with utility and cable providers and the cleanliness of those lines for some time now. So I just would love to see that one be a metric that we could achieve as well. I think it just requires a lot of, focus in order to figure out how best to regulate those utilities, because they don't have to come to the city for all the same permits and inspections as some of the other, CIP projects that we oversee. So that would be good. But I'm also just completely in agreement and thankful for this program to come forward, because, there's nothing. There's plenty of things we can do to promote quality of life and increase the quality of life, but beautification touches everyone, every single day, every single time they're in our city, moving about and living. So very, very supportive. You have my blessing also. So any other comments? So So you said your goal is to achieve the full certification this calendar year?
Yes, we will be ready to submit our application to Keep Texas Beautiful by the end of the month. And then our application will be due to the Scenic City Certification Program by early to mid-April.
What can we do to help?
We have representatives from all city departments helping on this. And really, once we start seeking evidence of compliance and thinking of things, oh yeah, we do this, we do that, we do this, that's when kind of just brainstorming and throwing out, like, hey, don't forget to add this in the application, and making sure that you kind of just give us reminders. But it's a lot of research, a lot of fun, a lot of working together to get us the certifications.
Mayor, I would suggest a resolution from the City Council in support of our participation in those programs could go a long way, even though it's not required. So we will bring one forward for your approval.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to bring back resolution as outlined by Mr. Hendricks.
Second.
Moved by the mayor, seconded by Councilmember Flores Cale. Is there discussion on that motion?
Yeah.
You can bring that one back, Jerry? Okay,
Yeah,
Councilmember
for
Ellison.
both of them, essentially, or just, I don't know, whichever, yeah, because they're two separate, yeah. I think that's great, and I really appreciate your comment about what we can do more to help. That's where we can show even more support, and I think it's great that so many staff members from various departments are working on this, and perhaps they can help us identify any areas of opportunity as well that we could maybe upgrade policy or code or ordinances and things as well. So, yeah, this is good. Thank you for that suggestion.
Yeah, and we've been pursuing beautification efforts for a while, but it's always been based on sort of what we feel is, a problem that we're trying to address. So, I think we have seen a big shift in cleanliness and beautification throughout the city, over the years. But it still would be great to take all of those efforts and put them under the umbrella of a singular program that sort of has an objective in mind.
And these programs are that reinforcement that we are meeting statewide standards that set cities apart from others as being the best of the best in terms of beautification.
So other than the certification, which would be great to receive, is there some other benefit? And then obviously the planning and the sort of the outlook, but is there some kind of teeth that this program allows for us? Does it open doors for grant funding, or is there a regulatory component to it, or?
Keep Kyle Beautiful does have some grant opportunities that we can apply for. And Scenic City, I'm not familiar with any grant programs through Scenic City, so I would have to do some more research on that.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Councilmember Flores Cale.
Thank you. I also want to say that I see a board member out there for Parks and Boards, so I would just like to say, okay, sorry, if they could come up and so we could just give them some recognition and say thank you. Personally, I would appreciate that. Sorry that I didn't see you, by the way. Someone in front of you. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Chairman Amanda Stark.
Hey, Laura Lee.
Laura Lee Harris, board member.
Okay, I just want to say thank you to both you guys. Just being there, being at the meetings, and being involved in these kind of decisions means a lot. So thank you, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next up, agenda item number 10, CIP road projects presentation. Mr. Barba.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Leon Barba, City Engineer. Before I start, Mayor, I wanted to answer your question that you had about the scenic cities concerning utilities. One thing that Council has done in the past is request that all utility lines be buried underground. And that's one of the things we'll be submitting as part of that request. So that's one of the good things that Council has done. That helps beautify the city.
You're saying that there's some new regulation or standard that we can achieve through this program that we're not currently achieving?
From what I read through the application, I was at the meeting, and I was looking at the utility part, obviously, because I was interested in that. So I did notice that we do have an ordinance that says we want utilities buried underground, no matter what. So that's part of the submittal that I'm going to be putting into that application.
Okay.
So you had a question about the utility
You're saying it's more to demonstrate to the program that we're doing that?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. The Heroes Memorial Park, we're about 56% complete. They're still working on the honor wall. And again, they're still working on the bridge structure, as you can see there, and they poured up some additional sidewalk along the perimeter. One of my questions to staff was, I don't understand why there's a red sidewalk and there's a gray sidewalk, but the red is more like the base that's being prepared for the rest of the sidewalk, just in case y'all had a question on the red sidewalk.
Well, the red sidewalk will be the one facing from the pond. So when they come in, I think there might be some initial lettering that might go on there as well, message. So that way you know.
La Verde Park, we're about 44% complete. As you can see, this is the bottom floor that they're working on for the restroom that's there. So that's the vault underneath there that they're working on. Mary Kyle Hartson Park project, we're about 95% complete. They did finish the metal roof on the gazebo and the bell tower. That's completed. They're expecting the lamp post this week. We'll see if they come in. The weather has been delaying the electrical work that's out there, and I don't think the rest of the week's going to be that favorable either, so probably won't see some work till next week. Councilman.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for the seating out there. It was much needed, and I know during the lighting of the tree, there wasn't anywhere for the adults to sit while the kids played, and I noticed now there's seating out there. So as a parent who takes their kid over there and doesn't want to stand, thank you very much.
I'll pass that on. Thank you, Councilmember. Southside wastewater improvements, we're about 95% complete. Again, I'll mention that this does not include the Edwards Drive line that we need to add to the contract. But as of the current project, we're at 95% complete. They're right there by the Beasley Automotive installing the line, and we're getting closer to wrapping this project up. The treatment plant expansion, I don't really want to say this again, but you've already heard it. Utilities, or actually the materials, COVID, and getting good workers has been a problem for everybody. And anyway, right now we're at 86% complete on the plant itself. The dewatering facility is 7% complete. They will continue working Saturdays as they can, and now they've started working Sundays to try to stay on schedule. Just wanted to mention this fourth bullet. There's some aeration blowers there that they're expecting those to be delivered mid-March, and apparently the impellers are en route from the Netherlands to Houston for assembly. So that's slowing us down. For those that don't know what an impeller is, it's the opposite of a propeller. It's the impellers inside the pump. It actually sucks the water in. So those need to be correct and made properly for that system. We are pushing the completion to mid-April of 2022, but if the impellers get in sooner, obviously we'll try to stay on schedule. Dewatering facility will be complete and online in August of 2022. It's an overhead of our facility. They did provide the internet connection, and SCADA testing has been done. SCADA is supervisory controls and data acquisition. For those of you that don't know what SCADA is, that's how we monitor our equipment and monitor the plant and how it's functioning. Button Creek Interceptor, good news there. They're delivering 36-inch pipe. I think I heard we got 10 truckloads. We have a few more truckloads to go. Right now, they're working on the area that needs to have that line installed, and then they'll be installing the 36-inch line. Again, weather's not helping us at all this time, but they are starting to clear, survey, and get ready for that next section of 36-inch line so that can go in. And additionally, we also have a 12-inch line that goes in there with it, so that's part of their project. Old Post Road, Hays County's working on that particular intersection. They're on their second layer of base. There's 4 layers of base, and then they'll come in with the asphalt. So they're moving pretty quickly on that project. Again, we'll probably lose them Thursday and Friday because of the weather. Elliott Branch Interceptor, we're about 52% complete. We're installing water, wastewater, and reclaimed water lines in the area between Scott Street and Sledge Street and some of those side streets in there. They're also doing work on Old Highway 81 and along the southbound frontage road. Schlemmer and Porter, as I've mentioned earlier, we had to reduce the scope of this project. We encountered some really hard rock, so we're going to be wrapping up the contract, and so the project is substantially completed. We completed about a little over 50% of the project, and the problem was that soil underneath there was really hard rock, and we had to spend more time and effort in placing that particular line. But we did get past the hardest part of the project. Other projects, Roland Lane's about 95% complete. If you've driven by there, it was just recently paved last week. They still have some concrete work to do, and we're estimating about another 2 weeks at the most, 3 weeks, depending on the weather, to get that opened again. Wanted to let you know we have a bid opening coming up on February 10th. It's the Indian Paintbrush Lift Station. It's about, we're taking it from about a not that you need to know the numbers, but you know how engineers are. It's a 1.6 million gallons per day. We're going to up it to about a 2.8 million gallon per day facility. And we'll have the bids opening on February 10th, hopefully. And I'm going to turn it over to Harper.
Mayor, Council, Harper Wilder, Public Works Director. I was asked to say something real quick on the winter storm preparations. I'd sent an email out back on January 19th for the last expected winter storm that we were going to have that luckily didn't turn into something really big. But on this one, same things. I can read those to you if you want, or you can look at that past email. I can read them all. But you know, it's the same things. We've gone and heat trace wire and heat lamps, insulated everything at our sites, our well pumps and whatnot. The only thing that we don't have is the new generators that we're still waiting on for the grant to come through that they said is going to be spring before we'll hear something. Everything's submitted. We're just waiting on the grant.
Just when it starts warming up, huh?
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, yes, sir. Sure enough. Some good news, though, and right now, just so y'all know, we're prepared as we can be. All of our staff's on standby. We paired up with the PD for joint ventures and such that are needed. Some good news, though, if you can see on your screen here, we've spoken with TxDOT, and TxDOT puts down the de-icing agents. And they agreed to go ahead and do all the roads that you see here on that list. In addition to the state roadways, they're going to do those, so that's great.
That's awesome. Harper, thank you for bringing this forward. I know you and I had this conversation. I just wanted the public to know that what we have done as a city. We've learned a lot from our last winter storm. I know we're not 100% where we want to be at due to, timing issues, but we're getting there. And I think we, as a city, we're pretty much prepared. You never know what Mother Nature's going to throw at you, but I think for the most part, you and your team have done a great job in getting us to the point where we're at. Just want to remind you to keep you and your guys safe. Captain Petro Hernandez as well, keep your guys safe during the storm, all the staff. And just thank you, just reminding the residents to, do all you can. Remember the 3 Ps, and and it starts off with pets, plants, and pipes. Always remember that. Pets is priority number 1, so definitely. But just remember that, and thank you for all y'all do.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We learned a lot from the last one, and the only thing that we foresee right now that could be an issue would be power failures. So we'll have to play that by ear.
Yeah. And the good thing is, as a city, we did send PEC a map of our critical infrastructure, so
Yes, sir.
hopefully that definitely will help deter some of that. So some of those rolling blackouts in those areas. So.
Yes, sir. I think we were approved 5, if I remember correctly, 5 critical infrastructure sites.
Great.
With another 5 optional. So the 5 definite ones are approved. And then if they can make it work, the other 5 would be added.
Thank you, Harper.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Did you want to know on the Bunton? Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Also on Bunton Lane, our street construction staff completed the area that they were going to be working on to rehab. Like we said, it's a temporary, but if you look at the road over there, we basically built a new road. It was a total of about 6,000 foot. So that's over a mile of road that they did from the Lehman and Bunton Lane intersection down to the roundabout. Many of the guys have talked about the individuals that drove past and are very appreciative. Said it's a night and day project, and they were really happy. So that was good for us.
Yeah, I know originally the residents had a little bit of feedback about the construction, but once it was done, everything turned positive, and we just got to go through those growing pains. I've just got a couple more things for Leon.
Yes, sir.
Real quick. Thank you, Harper.
Yes, sir.
And Leon, I'm going to start off with Roland Lane. So our residents in that area have been very, very patient, but their patience is running thin. You said it got paved. I hadn't seen it paved, but it's paved now. So definitely paved. Why is it going to be another 2 weeks before they open up that Roland Lane intersection?
There's still some concrete work they need to do on those culverts, and then there's that median that they're going to come back and cut down
Okay.
and keep about 20 feet of it from the railroad track, so they still need to have to wrap that up.
Okay, yeah, because I know they've expressed that they go by there and nobody's out there working, and it's kind of disheartening to them that it's closed. But if we can really try to speed that up, it'd be great. All right.
I will talk to the developer tomorrow. The one thing that we've gotten complaints about is that they've been removing the barricades also, so that's not helpful either, so.
Sounds good. And then my last question is just for the Mary Kyle Hartson Park, the furniture, I'm just making sure that we did all we could to make sure that it doesn't walk off. That's one of the things I want to make sure that we do that, because it's a little bulky, but it looks kind of light. So just making sure that we've done everything in Kansas City to make sure we don't lose any of that. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councilmember.
Councilor Ellis.
I want to say one thing that they wanted me to tell y'all from the staff. Ballpark guesstimate, I believe we spent $200,000 on that project, and estimated $800,000 project from contractors. So that's a $600,000 savings, just so you know.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Councilor Ellis.
Yeah, that's big, and I want to just stamp down on that point. We used to not have a street divisions team. I think it was maybe, 2-3 years ago we first started this, so we did not have the capacity to do what we just did on Bunton Road. So that is certainly progressing our city. I want to major kudos to you, Scott Egbert, and that whole team. I know you got a great crew there, so it would be remiss if we didn't mention them. But yeah, that's great. I'm happy to hear the feedback that you all had on Bunton as well. Love the pictures you all sent and the updates. And so that was a show what we can do a little bit. And we've come away. You know, I remember when the first one was Windy Hill.
Still getting there.
Yeah. And we're still got, of course, to go. But I'm just so excited about that. And that is just something that I don't want, anybody to be lost on how that process kind of came about and where we were 3 years ago to where we are now. And then we have, of course, for anybody who hasn't seen, we have put money in our budget that went into effect October 1st for designing and engineering a number of different roads to do full, complete streets, meaning curb to curb, sidewalk, street lights, and all that stuff. But this was an opportunity of what we could do. That's why we've been saying a temporary fix. But I think you all did a really great job of what we have there. So I just wanted to say that real quick. My next comments and questions were for Mr. Barber. Thank you, Harper. I know, Old Post Road's the one I typically ask about. And we've been updating the completion date on that. Where we ballpark at now on Old Post Road? Because I know we had to delay a little bit on that right away on the south end. They've gotten back to work, but there's still the north end that needs to be completed. Do you have a ballpark area on that?
I would think they're going to try to wrap up that intersection within, last time I said about 2 months. I'm thinking about another month and a half they'll be there to wrap that up. And then they'll swing over to the north end, hopefully within, we're in February, March, April, start in April. So another 4 to 6 months on that one to wrap that up. It's a little bit longer stretch, but they'll also have to put some pipe in at the north end, so that's going to slow them down.
Right. So maybe fall, winter this year,
That's what
most
we're
likely
thinking. Yes, sir.
complete it. Okay. And then just a couple other questions on La Verde and Heroes Memorial. I know we've had to do some things that push back the timeline on those, but do we have an updated approximate timeline on completion of those?
I talked to Jeff Prado, who's been kind of managing that project for us, and I think he said March of...
For Heroes Memorial?
But I'm going, council member, I'm going off memory.
Yeah, I think it got pushed back from March because I think March was the original one, and then
We've probably slipped 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, so probably looking maybe even early May, maybe. Okay, and then La Verde, I guess, probably will be mid-summer, late summer. Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Leon.
Thank you.
All right, next up, agenda item number 11, discussion and possible action to adopt a board's and commission's policies and procedures. This is from the ad hoc committee. I don't know who wants to take the lead on this. Councilmember Flores-Cale.
Okay, thank you. So we have met with commissioners and residents to try to get a better understanding of what it is this committee or this policy and procedure should look like. So unfortunately, we weren't able to get together and to finalize it yet. So what I would like to do is make a motion to postpone until we can present something, and we can postpone to a certain time, till we can finalize, what I don't want to do is just keep coming back. We want to get as much insight as possible, so, yeah, I'd like to make a motion to postpone until, let me see. The 15th? And is that enough time for you guys? I mean, I'm the one who types it all up. We just take, and the meeting that we had was with the commissioner, and so I was writing down all his ideas, and I just wanted to make sure that we understood everything that he was suggesting. I mean, we're not taking it all into consideration, but I just wanted him to kind of meet. Unfortunately, Daniela was not included in that meeting. That was requested from the commissioner, so we also need to get with her to discuss the things that were discussed with us, so.
I'll second that motion.
All right, it's been motioned to postpone this item until February 15th by Councilmember Flores-Cale, seconded by Councilmember Tobias. Is there discussion on that motion? Councilmember Ellison.
Which commissioner did you all meet with?
Alex Guerrera?
All right. And you don't have any feedback on those comments or suggestions?
I mean, there's a lot. And that's why, again, we need to get together, and we just want to make sure, like, we're just trying to, without a lot of feedback, because the last meeting was kind of irregular, and then we get the additional feedback. What we're trying to do is just present something that's going to be a little more surefire that people aren't going to be dissatisfied with, because we didn't feel like there was a lot of, feedback other than a few things. And so anyways, we can share that information. Unfortunately, it hasn't been shared with Daniela yet. So it would just be me and Councilmember Tobias to discuss it. And I don't even know if he's prepared to discuss it.
Let me go and just reemphasize what was going on as well. Yes, we did meet with one of the P&Z commissioners, Mr. Guerra, because we were in the process of getting feedback from residents and also from him as well, because we wanted to have an understanding of what it is from a P&Z stand as far as what are we looking for as when we get to commission. So we're looking at a whole range of the options here. We're gathering the info. And we are not purposely trying to delay this. We have been working on this. We just have not had a time to meet with Ms. Parsley on this to where we can finalize a lot of the feedback that we got from last time, from the last council meeting. So it's putting it all together to make sure that we get this right the first time. We want to be able to bring forth a commission's policy that would be fair and equitable, and also something that is that we can all agree on as well, if we can. We are trying to be as open and fair in looking at the policy, and we're all still coming up with the ideas, but we're just needed to finalize one last conversations with Ms. Parsley. We'll be able to bring it back on this this next on the 15th, and hope by then we should be able to have something we can bring for council for a vote.
I understand that. I guess the reason why I'm asking my question, so are you all seeking out feedback from the chairs of all the boards and commissions? Is there a particular reason why you're just honing? Because this is a policy for all boards and commissions, not just P&Z. So it'd be across all there. So I'm pretty sure that people on our other boards and commissions would have input that they'd like to share as well. So is that being equitable across all boards and commissions?
To be upfront, this was the first person that we had spoken to about this from the board. Have we reached out to the Parks Board? No. And the others commission? No. On my, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to get as much feedback as we can. We took a lot of council's feedback as well in trying to be able to see where we can be able to get this in and see what is, the questions were about the council versus the staff-led. There was two different ones that we brought forward, okay? So there was some positives on each side, and there was also some negatives. So it's a matter of bringing forward the policy that all three of us have been working on, to where when we bring it forward, we could be able to have an understanding to where all the questions could be answered. You got to understand that this is something that we've been working on constantly. And we've been doing research. I've been doing research on myself, making sure that the wording's correct. Does it also follow the charter? And if there is another option that could be in play as well. So we're looking at all aspects of it. Now, I understand a lot of people are feeling like, well, you know, it's bringing the delay for people to be interviewed. Okay, there's people that have had applications in, and we need to get them going. Now, I understand that that was brought forth back in December and this last council meeting. But I also understand that these openings, if we're talking about P and Z, for example, have been open since, I believe, August?
September.
Or September. So applications have been sent in. Interviews could have been done. Okay. Applications could have been reviewed. Okay. They could have been done. So for those who feel that we are sabotaging this or keeping this hostage, it's not the case. We are brought forth the task to look at this policy and to the best way to where we could be able to bring forward a fair and equal policy for all the boards across, including the ones we have that are now. That's what we're looking at.
If I may address Mr. Councilmember Ellison's concern, if it's my understanding, because I was invited to this, but my understanding is this commissioner reached out to us and we didn't reach out to them. Is that correct? Yeah. So we can reach out to them. I'm not opposed to that, but we didn't go seeking them. They sought us. And I think originally it was just to speak with Councilmember Tobias, and then he invited me. And so it wasn't like planned out. It was. I think I had like a couple days notice, and unfortunately, Miss Daniela wasn't invited. So again, next time, and I told Ms. Parsley or Councilmember Parsley that next time I think we all just need to do it together. And if council would like, I don't mind getting with different board members and discussing it with them as well.
So I don't know perhaps what's going on right now, but my reason in asking the question, I understand that board member felt that was the one that was comfortable and confident enough to reach out to you all. Once again, I don't doubt that any of our other boards and commission members also have thoughts and opinions. And so I understand they reached out to you all, but you accepted a meeting. You know what I mean? So, and that, I'm not saying that's bad. I think it's great. Collect all the input. You know, I even told you, talking to directors or anything else, other boards and commissions that are out there in other cities, what they're doing. For example, I've had Mr. Sellers forward you all today. San Marcos did their draft day. And so they have all their boards and commissions. Everybody applies. They do put a preference, top 3, the applicants. But then it's just one day. They did it today at 3 o'clock. It took about an hour and a half. They went through all the boards and commissions. Every council member had every application. They submitted nominations on everybody, went down the line, submitted nominations for each board. And then they talked about it and, made the reasons why they, after looking through those applications, why they felt this person was good for this board. And they went through all probably 20 boards and commissions that they have in the city of San Marcos. So that was another outside the box, different thing to do. I mentioned this last time. I felt like the policy that was brought forward is just the same policy with a few other things just buttoned down. I would push back a little bit and say I did give quite a bit of feedback last council meeting. I had a number of things to say, And I saw you taking a lot of notes, so I know you got feedback from at least me. So I'm all for you all going outside the box. I was all for you all completely scrapping this and coming up with a completely unique policy and idea. But so no conflict with you all having meetings and gathering input. That's great. Even our boards and commissions are residents. But I don't, once again, I think sometimes it's lost. There was even a comment made a number of months back about the P&Z policy. It's not a P&Z policy. It's a boards and commissions policy. So if we're going to take input from one board, I think it'd be probably beneficial to get it from all of them, you know, because they all have their input. They all went through the process. They know what was probably challenging to go through that process, what you know, might have been good. At the end of the day, we're trying to find people that are going to be willing to engage in the work that we need done on all of these boards and commissions. And so I have some additional suggestions to make tonight as well. So there's three camps in this. There's the volunteer, the resident, there's the city staff role, and then there's the council role. I'm not a fan of this being a board appointed without council involvement at all. I think the staff-only option is not one that I'm in favor of. The volunteer should submit the application, meet city charter qualifications, and attend the meeting where the appointment is considered. That is the extent of their participation in that role. Obviously, filling out the application is a key part of that. City staff's role: advertise the opening of the position, however long we feel that might be necessary. I know you all have made your suggestions. Accept the screen the applications for however long. Once again, you all made a recommendation on that. Responding to and acknowledging approval of basic qualifications. So this is one of the things that I've heard from many different people that have either previously served or currently serve and whatnot. It's just the lack of understanding where they are in the process. So once an application is accepted, they screen those applications, and then there's a response acknowledging approval of the basic qualifications. If the candidate is unqualified, city staff will notify the applicant via email or mail notice immediately. So everybody knows where they are in this. City staff's role, last city staff role is sending notifications to all candidates of their status and expectation of attendance at scheduled meeting of council. Once again, that is in the current policy, but we just need to make sure we hammer that down. Staff really shouldn't have any opinions or have any direct or indirect influence on the appointment process, in my opinion. And then finally, council role. I think it should be I don't think it's going to be something that will happen often, but I think it should be at a regular or special called meeting. After the screening process, all eligible candidates are invited to a meeting of the city council. Their names are printed in the agenda for public notice. Council can ask questions of the candidates regarding their interest in serving on the community on those boards and commissions. Council has provided all applications of the interested candidates and their backup for the meeting. And honestly, I think it really should probably be done at a special call meeting where that's the only thing we do, rather than having it at the top of a regular scheduled meeting. City Council will make an appointment at that meeting of the appointment of members from those candidates present at the meeting. So once again, they have to be present at the meeting, and we make those appointments. And then I think I mentioned this last time, what we're asking of these residents and volunteering their time and their expertise and their skill sets. You know, we just talked about a great team, Kyle Academy and other different opportunities. We have volunteers come in all different ways and that we solicit that. I don't think it should be an extended requirement for our boards and commissioners to also participate or volunteer at another thing, because they're already giving us a lot to be a part of these boards and commissions. So those are just some of my thoughts. Once again, like I said, you all were sent the link to the San Marcos meeting. Certainly, I'm sure other cities do other different things. So that is just my hope. I appreciate that you all are gathering interest. Once again, not bothered by you all meeting with the P and Z commissioner. But like I said, there are other boards and commissioners that are really highly skilled folks that have really great ideas, and I think if you all are soliciting ideas for one board, getting them from all would just be more beneficial if we're going to take this additional time. So those are my comments and input, but I appreciate the work you all are doing.
Councilmember Parsley.
I need to change this because it never clicks anyway. So first of all, I wanted to say that we appreciate the patience that you have had with us working with these rules. So I appreciate you saying that, we should take in consideration all the boards and commissions. This was great that Mr. Alex came to Tobias to ask for conversation and giving a little bit of an input on what they wanted to see on the rules. I've been taking notes of everything that has been said, so we can try to gather as much information and we can put rules that are accommodating for as many people, as many residents and applicants that we want. So you were mentioning something about candidates want to know where they are in regards to their applications. And one of the things that I was looking into, it talks about the eligibility of residents to get appointed to the boards. It's something that we might be able to be adding in here in the next week or so we can present something better. That will give them basically a green light to know, okay, they have gone through the round of interviews. I also took in consideration the timeline between, the moment that you get accepted, how many applications are considered enough, just to make sure we just gather the right applicants and then we have quality of applications. So I just want to say thank you for all the ideas that you have brought up. And that we appreciate your patience, that we're working on it. And so I believe by the next council meeting, we should have a decent set of rules to see if it gets approved. That's it.
My thoughts on it are that, I think a lot of proposals that are being brought forward are there's a lot of different ways you can go about this, and they're all, maybe not all equally valid, but it's a complicated and challenging thing to try to come up with a policy that works for all these boards and commissions. So I understand that. My concern is not so much, I feel like there's tension right now between this council's desire to put forward a policy that really, really works, that's been sort of exhaustively thought out, that could maybe work for years and years to come, and the reality that because we're trying to do that, we have stopped the process for bringing forward boards and commissions appointees, which means that we currently have no process in place whereby anybody can apply for or be appointed to a board. But we do have boards, and those boards, have vacancies, and so that's creating stress and tension. I think we all feel that. With the P&Z vacancies that were put forward, I guess you said since September. I found out about it, I want to say, in November, December time, something like that. And we had received 2 applications for 2 open positions, and it didn't seem like staff was really excited about bringing two applications to 2 seats. And so there was a determination made to renotice and really make a big push. And then we did get the 6 or 7 applications that came forward. So that's the reason why there was such a delay. And it's just the timing of it. It was kind of unfortunate, because after we'd spent that time trying to get to that point, which we were to that point, that's when it has all stopped. And now we're starting this new process. So I say all that just to say that we set a goal of, I believe, of this meeting to try to adopt a new policy so that we can unbreak the boards and commissions policy, which is currently broken. And so if the desire is to postpone and to wait, that's okay, but we need to have some kind of sense of when we're trying to put a new policy in place, whether it be perfect or not, because we're on a time clock here. So that's really my feedback on this. And if we want to wait until the meeting of the 15th, that's fine. But if it's going to be a proposal and the conclusion is let's continue to wait, we could potentially be months away from this. And what happens if there's another resignation on P&Z or additional resignations? What we're going to have on other boards, we're going to start to have problems where at best we're just trying to get quorum in order to take action. And I don't think that's what anybody's really wanting. We want to see healthy boards and commissions following a policy that we all agree with. I obviously, feel the tension on the board, on this board, about what is the appropriate policy. It's just kind of a can of worms. It's just not something everybody's necessarily going to all agree on. But I'm not really so much concerned with the substance of the policy. I'm concerned about the fact that we don't have a policy, and if we don't adopt one, we're going to find ourselves under more and more pressure to put something together. So, I don't know if we need to have a special workshop to go over this, or what, but we don't need to let it linger too much longer, in my opinion. So that's my feedback. If nobody has further discussion, Councilmember Flores-Cale.
Thank you. As a gentle reminder, we did talk about this last meeting, and not everybody was here. And so I'm not trying to be ugly.
That's not
I'm
gentle,
just,
but thank you.
Well,
Appreciate
that's as
that.
gentle as I can be.
Well, it's not gentle.
It was giving a reminder because, again, we had kind of discussed it last meeting and it got more information and been a little bit more progressive. At that time, we did there was 5 of us here talking about it, and 3 of us were already on the committee. So it is important that we get everybody's feedback. So in order for us to complete this, we need to make sure that we're all discussing it. And that's what was important to us, is to make sure that we got everybody's feedback. So otherwise, we could have passed something that wasn't amicable to everybody. But instead, we chose to do some edits and updates and then just kind of postpone it until we can get everybody's feedback.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, so, interesting. I think we had a suggestion, maybe doing a workshop. I think that might be where we need to be, because this discussion clearly is going to take a long time, especially once we bring it forward. I think doing a workshop would probably be the best way to handle this, a special called meeting. So when we finally do get a draft and we have some direction, I'd love to see a workshop come to fruition, so that way we can get these boards and commissions filled. I have no doubt that we're going to come up with something. My concern is the empty seats and the pressure that we're putting on our volunteers. And I'm going to stress that volunteers, they're not paid, they volunteer. So making sure that we can do, it's not about pointing fingers of how long these seats have been open. It's about getting them filled. And that's my stress right now, is making sure we're not putting stress on our volunteers. Because I know what it's like to be a volunteer. I've been volunteering for about 3 decades. I know what kind of stress that could be like when you're shorthanded. So to make sure that we get those volunteers and those positions filled is my #1 concern. But I know you're going to do a great job. I know we're going to get this together. But if bringing a workshop together makes this process faster, I'd be all in about that.
Is this something we can discuss at the vision workshop? Because then,
We can do any number of things, yes. I mean, no topic is off limit if we want to make that the time, what we spend our time working on while we're there. So, Councilmember Ellis.
Yeah, I'm fine with any of those suggestions. I will push back on your comments, though, Mayor. And I will say substance is important to me. That was the whole reason why I've been harping on changing this policy for a year now. I first asked the council to change this policy in February of last year, and then I asked again in April, and then I asked again in May. So I've been trying to change the substance of this policy for nearly a year. And, we had 14 applications for P&Z at the beginning of last year. We had 3 2 resignations at the end of March. Those were filled 7 days later at the next meeting. Commissioner Christie resigned in September, and then Commissioner Schreibmeyer came off in September as well. Certainly, new applications came in. I think this is part of what we're trying to address. And I certainly believe you, Mayor, that you weren't aware of it till you said November, but those openings came in September. Why is there a disconnect from having you made aware, according to the last policy?
I should never say months of remember, because I'm guessing as to when I was made aware.
Okay.
There was requests to do to go down the process. There was only 2 applications, and it was at that time that it was
2 new applications. I just want to say that there were applications that had come in for P&Z, and those could have been reached back out to see if there was interest. So I want to just make the point that, hammer down on the point that Councilmember Tobias made, which I think is a really great point, that the narrative that this going through this process now, and I know there's pressure to fill it because of what we've done in abolishing this old policy, which I think was the right thing to do. We're trying to now work it out. If we had done this last spring and last summer, we wouldn't be under the gun like we are right now. So, I understand the pressure to get those boards and commissions filled. I've said it last time, I know what it's like to serve on those boards and commissions. When it is barely a quorum made up and you're waiting for people to come on, it's challenging. But it does not, I don't think it should excuse us not being careful about the substance of the policy that we will put in place. And so I appreciate the work that the task force has done. If we want to pull back on the task force and just do a workshop, that's fine with me. I certainly will be more than happy to come with ideas on that and hammer that out and get it finally done in a workshop. I'm fine with that too. If we want to allow the task force to have a couple more weeks and bring us back something on 15th, I'm amenable to that as well. But I think the point that Councilmember Tobias made earlier is a very valid point and lost in the narrative, and this just didn't start this year. The seats could have been filled last year, even if I didn't like it. They still could have been done according to the last policy we had and according to all the applications that the city had received, regardless of when those were received in 2021.
Yeah, no doubt they could have. So the reason they weren't is because, like I said, there was not, it was determined that enough people hadn't applied. So the city manager came forward and informed the council that we were going to reopen it, make a marketing push to try to get more folks to come in. I don't really understand what's wrong with that. I agree with the idea of trying to make sure that we get it right. And I'm not sure where the comment about sabotage came in. There's certainly no, that's not coming from me at all. That's not the read I get. I'm just concerned about that this was the date that we said, and we're not going to actually discuss it. We're just postponing. So I feel like the way these things can go when everybody has different opinions is it can take us a while, multiple meetings potentially, to get to a point where we're all in agreement, or maybe we're, and so that's the concern I have. So I'm just trying to push us to say, let's keep working on this. That's really all that I'm saying, because postponing this particular item and down the road does have real world consequences, because it is hard. If you have only a 5-member board and one is absent, then you're down to the bare minimum just to make quorum. And it's very difficult to get feedback from that board. And then, obviously there can be situations where a lot is riding on meetings taking place, and we may or may not be able to fulfill that. I'm just trying to solve that. I know we all want to do that. So that's my thought. So as it relates to postponing this item, I'm just wanting to make sure that on the 15th, I suppose, that we've got something, we're ready to try to get as close as we can to a vote. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, just want to emphasize what I said earlier, is that this discussion's not going to happen in a matter of an hour or two. We've already spent quite a few hours in council meetings on this discussion, and we're pretty much at zero. So my suggestion would be for us to spend half a day one Saturday and bring a workshop together so that we all can get on the same page and bring this forward, because we're all in disagreement in which way this should be structured. We all have ideas. We all have ways we want to see these boards and commissions filled, but we're not going to do it in council meetings. I'm going to tell you right now, because these discussions are probably 4 or 5 hours away from even getting close to bringing something back. So I'd love to get staff. I would propose that staff come back with council, find a date that's amenable to all of the council members, and come in and work on this amendment, so that way we know when we bring something forward, everybody's in agreement.
Any other discussion? I can meet this Saturday morning.
I won't be able to meet this Saturday morning. I'm all for doing a workshop to hammer this out. I don't think it's going to take 5 to 6 hours personally, because I think we've got some good groundwork already laid by the task force, and we've already, if people have opinions on about this, I hope that they would have shared it between last meeting and this meeting. So that's a little bit on us if you haven't brought up your ideas. But I would prefer, I'm not going to have a Saturday available, not in the morning, for the rest of this month. It's not already taken up. So my only option would be a weekday evening.
So so that's one of the tough things, because one of the things you said was when we're appointing these boards and commissions to do a special meeting, I'm really against that, because we already have a lot of meetings. I don't think the entire complexity of the process we have right now is super flawed. Most of our boards and commissions go, I think this is because of one board and commission that's been used in a way that we really don't agree with as a council. So I don't think it's a super flawed system. I just think that the 7 of us are going to have a hard time coming together on what we really want to see come to fruition with this boards and commission policy. Yeah, and if you want my thoughts, is I think the majority of this of our current board and commission application process was good. I just think that it should have been a rotation between districts for certain boards and commissions, and we would have been perfect there, so that way we get equal representation throughout the city. But in some point, we've got to trust staff and we've got to trust each other. And I think that's where I'm having a little bit of issue with this. I know that a year ago you brought this forward. The council at the time didn't like the direction it was going, so they decided to wait on it and keep the current policy. Now the new council decides we want to do something different, and I'm good with that. I think the old policy had some places we could improve. A complete rewrite, probably not. But if we're going to go that route, why not? Let's do it. But it's going to have to take time to come together and do that. If it's an evening or a weekend, I'll find the time to do it, because I think this is something that's really important. I want to see our boards and commissions filled. I want to see that stress alleviated on them. And I just don't want to see a bunch more meetings put in, because I've already goes to a lot of meetings. So I want to make sure that we do rely on staff as well. Let's not kick staff totally out of this process. Our staff's important. We are Team Kyle, working together. Let's try to get this done.
Any other thoughts about dates or times for us to meet together and try to come to resolution?
Sunday?
I could do Sunday. I could do any evening next week, pretty much. That's our off week from council. I just work, y'all. I can't do Saturday morning.
And I'll make myself available whenever we need it. So whatever works best with council.
Speaking of dates for both this agenda item and the next one, I'm pretty much booked for February and March, like across the board, weeknights, weekdays, weekends. So just throwing that out there.
Is there a reason why we wouldn't discuss this at the vision workshop?
I would rather focus on keeping the vision of the city as the topic for the workshop when we go to Frisco. That's just me.
We wouldn't have time though, right, to bring it back into the agenda for the 15th?
Yeah, we can bring it back. I just think it would be good for us to try to have something to vote on the 15th. That's what it is. I'm not trying to say whose ideas are winning or whatever the policy is. It'd be really great and No, I'm very, very busy with my schedule as well. My weekends and weeknights are busy every time. If it's a Saturday morning or another, I have a spouse and kids, and so and other activities as well. So especially, but we're in a position where we've just got to white knuckle this and work our way through it and get the policy put back in place, whatever the policy is. So that's what I keep trying to drive. So if Sunday would work, for a workshop, then I would be okay with pursuing that. I would prefer not to do it at the visioning workshop, just because I know Scott and we have a facilitator, and it is full steam ahead at that, for that weekend. So it'd be tough to try to bring a big topic like this and focus on it. So. I have 3 things on Sunday starting at 7 a.m. and going until 2:30, but I will work around it if it means coming up here and trying to, put something together,
And only 4 of us would have to be present, right? So others could be
3
virtual. If
three
that
virtual.
Could, if
Yeah,
that's
and
an
if it's a
option.
workshop, Paige, if it's just a workshop, if we're not actually taking action, are we required to be present in order to do a workshop? Can we Zoom in? Can we do it virtually if it's just a workshop? No action.
No,
The governor took that away.
rules are the same, so you'd have to have a quorum, and you'd have to meet all the technical requirements, technical and posting requirements.
Okay, so we'd have to have up to 4 here, so.
I'm available Sunday.
I'm not.
I'm available Sunday.
You are? All right, I'm getting head nods. You said no.
If we
at all?
can we, so you're saying right off the bat that
Yeah, maybe virtual.
the workshop is pretty much focused on that?
Yeah,
Right, so you would have until Sunday. You could take your feedback. Y'all could have a meeting, work on it, bring a proposal. We sit down, we try to be as efficient as we can and go through what's being proposed. We'll have opportunity to give feedback. And then after that workshop, we'll have something that we can put on the agenda for February 15th that we've all discussed. And hopefully come to at least a sense of, we think this has got the majority of the council's support to put it all back in place on the 15th.
So to the rest of the task force, is that okay? Would you be willing?
Can we meet early Sunday?
Yeah.
Yes.
It would need to be pretty early, I would think, actually. So, if possible.
Yeah, I can make myself available on Sunday, but it has to be early before, say noon. Early morning.
Like 8 a.m.?
Yeah.
8 a.m. Sunday, the 6th?
Okay. Well, we'll call that workshop. We'll plan on having it here, one goal only. So, and also anybody in the public who wants to come and give their feedback, that'd be a good opportunity for them to
Boards,
do it.
commissions,
Yeah,
anybody, yeah, definitely.
I love the idea of us having a meeting where it's exclusively on our mind, because
Yeah.
because there's so much that we're
Right.
trying to deal with here, and
Exactly.
we have folks, out here.
Did everybody agree to Sunday to be able to do that?
Yeah.
Councilmember Bradshaw? Because I think it's important for all of us to be,
I will do my best to join virtually, but
Okay.
I can't make any promises.
gotcha. Well, I guess.
But if you have any
Respect that,
ideas,
but-
would you mind just giving them to us in advance? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's.
I think that's the whole key, and I want to say thank you to everybody for considering this as far as compromise. Because like I stressed from the beginning, we got to get this right.
Right.
We got to get this right. We don't want to come back a year later. Well, we got to be fair. We got to make sure everything's done, and we're going to take everybody's opinions and everybody's thoughts and not suggestions into consideration, which I think would really work out. Thank you.
Is it possible to set a hard stop to this? To the meeting, like, I know you can limit discussions according to Robert's rules, but is there any way we could say, okay, it's going to be from 8 to like 10 or 8 to 11 to make sure?
Yeah, and I'm just realizing, I'm looking at my schedule, so I'm going to have to be virtual also, because I'm going to be in Houston. I can do it, but I'm going to have to be virtual. So I don't have a choice. I will be in Houston overnight.
Do we have 4 that can be here on Sunday? Okay.
Well, so my concern is it's already the task force that's already going to be here. So, yeah, as long as we could be virtual, I just need to make sure we get more information and that the task force isn't coming to a meeting where it's mainly us here, so.
I'm gonna be here.
Well, I think what we're kind of doing is we're moving slightly away from the task force now and just getting all of us together
No,
and just hammer this
you're
out.
right, I get,
So-
what I'm saying is we've already discussed it, so yeah, the more, what I'm asking for, pleading for, is to have as many people here as possible so we can make sure we get that input.
Certainly. Don't disagree. But we do have a motion. Do we need to rescind that, or?
No, it's going to be postponed.
No, it's
Well,
fine.
it should
The
be.
the motion's fine, and we'll just call
We're
a meeting.
just
But I need
adding the
to,
direction
I need to
for
hear from
Sunday.
staff. I need to hear thoughts on this, as far as whether, because we can't have a meeting without staff support, so. What, were you saying something? Staff can be as virtual as possible, so, and I don't know that everyone is going to be necessary. I don't know that even the city manager's got to be there. So I don't know that we necessarily, but, in person at least. So it's a small group because this is very much an issue that's sort of up to us to decide, as evidenced by how the conversation here goes. Jennifer, do you have thoughts on this? No? No thoughts? Wow. Okay. Scott, I need staff to make a comment, please.
Yes, someone will be here. You name the time, and we'll be here.
All right.
8 a.m. Sunday.
We'll plan for 8 a.m. on Sunday. So, all right. Any discussion on the motion to postpone this action item until the 15th? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right. All right, next up, agenda item number 12, discussion of possible action on the schedule and scope of work for the proposed joint meetings of the City Council and boards and commissions. This is, Amber had put together a list based on the feedback that she had received from the council as far as different dates and times. Do you have that to put up on the screen for us to look at? I think it was, yeah, it's in the backup as well, so let me open it up. There was a proposed dates in order to get all the workshops, all the meetings that have been requested or thought of. The dates are, obviously we're meeting tonight, tomorrow night, and Sunday, and then the workshop is the 11th through the 13th, and then we meet again as a council on the 15th. But as far as the joint workshops with boards and commissions, we could do it on the 22nd for P&Z, the 28th for the Parks Board. Then we would have a council meeting on the 1st. We could do a joint meeting with our Economic Development Board and Tourism on the 9th, Library on the 10th, and then we'd have council on the 15th. So those are all the different meeting opportunities. So we're either going to schedule them or we're not, or if that's not enough. Initially, we were trying to do like one a quarter and various different things. So I don't know exactly what the plan is. I just wanted to bring this forward. I think that's based on the feedback that staff had received as far as how to set these up. And then also the question is whether or not it's going to be sort of the expectation that we're going to try to have the entire city council there and the entire board there, plus all the staff for council and for that particular board. And then what's the look and flow of those particular meetings so that we have an objective that we're trying to achieve more than just feedback of wanting to be more involved, like project-based kind of, and some of that can be discussed later, but these dates we need to look at and see if these are dates that we want to be trying to pursue for those joint workshops, or if we want to take a different approach.
I think the dates work. I think they're great dates. I know the staff put a lot of thought in these dates and talked to a couple of council members. I'm hoping they reached out to all the council members, but I think the dates, we're not going to be able to get every date perfect for every council member. So if every council member is okay with these dates, I think we should proceed with the dates that are proposed by staff, because they did their best to try to get dates that were amenable to all the council members.
They're just the dates that they meet already.
Right, it's just
Right.
giving you the flow of if we were to try to set up a meeting with all of our boards and commissions. I'm not sure that that's actually all of them. It's pretty close, though. I don't see a board that's missing there.
Yeah,
But-
there's some missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Board of Adjustment
Or-
is not on there.
Right.
These were the boards that were identified.
Right.
Correct.
Right, yeah, okay.
I'm not available on 2/22, and I'd really like to go to the P&Z, but I can even do it virtually. 2/22 is not, I can't. So when would be the next
They meet every second and fourth Tuesday.
second and fourth Tuesday? Okay, so,
I know staff talked about it not piling up on top of each other, trying to keep a little bit spread out. So that's what they could come out with.
And the other thought is if we're doing a joint meeting and we don't have a quorum, or if the board that we're meeting with doesn't have a quorum, are we still allowed to have the meeting? Let's say there's 3 of us who are there. If we can't roll call in a quorum, I would hate for us to not be able to have that meeting just because there's only 3. So I'm looking at all of these meetings, and I'm thinking it's a virtual impossibility for all 7 of us to be at all of these meetings. I'm not even sure that that's really necessary, in fact, for us to all be there. Sometimes smaller groups have better conversations anyway, so.
Yeah, so Mayor, what we do in the noticing is, this is the regular board meeting of each board or commission. That meeting would be posted normally, and then it will also be posted as a special city council meeting to meet with them. So even if the board does not make quorum, the council would make quorum there and still be able to have that special council meeting.
But if we don't make quorum,
if you or the board doesn't make quorum, then
can we still conduct the meeting?
Yes, the meeting would still be able to be held. Not as the city council, but the board could still hold their meeting. And they could still take conversation, feedback from y'all, or whoever was in attendance.
Okay. Well,
You just can't take final action.
unless this is too compressed and someone says, look, we need to spread these all out, my suggestion is to put them on the calendar, and then, if you want to come, come. So if it's important to you or not, or if it's from a scheduling standpoint or not, whatever, but it's tough to try to figure out it, because that's not just our calendar, but we're also looking at their calendars as well. But these are all dates that they are already scheduled to meet. So it's our schedule and our calendar that we're adding to, not necessarily theirs. So
Right.
it just means that, obviously the conversation would be different. Is there somebody who's going to be in charge of the agenda for that workshop or these workshops?
yeah, so the plan is that each board will conduct their regular business and then keep it short, as succinct as possible, and then have an item on each agenda that is the workshop item. So the staff member who is responsible for each board or commission will ensure that joint meeting language is on there.
So if we're meeting with the library board, it's the library board who would be saying, these are the things we want to discuss with you,
I think
generally speaking?
It's probably going to be posted as a general item, just as, a discussion with the council about the vision for each individual board and commission.
But each board does have something that they will come forward with. So the library is a good example. They just passed their 5-year plan. They would like to bring that forward and discuss with council.
Right, so they have to make quorum because it's their meeting. We post it as a special meeting as well, but if we don't make quorum, the meeting can still go on, the dialogue can still happen. So if that's the case, then might as well just put them on. That way, whoever can make it can make it, is my thought. Councilor Ellison, sorry.
Yes, I think Mrs. Lewis mentioned one thing that I think is very important, and why this, at least when I was pitching this idea, that I wanted it done as early in the year as possible, and after our visioning workshop, so that we, similar to how Mr. Sellers does with the directors, comes back from the visioning workshop and shares that information. We're essentially doing the same thing as it pertains to those boards and commissions. So that would be one thing. The other thing is there's specific language in the charter in reference to some of these boards specifically, Economic Development, Tourism, Train Depot, and P&Z, to name 3, are specifically outlined with items in their charter. So I think it would be good for us to all be on the same page of what it says in the charter for each board and commission. So, I mean, I'm sure all of you all have read it, but maybe those boards and commissioners, and we can kind of get feedback from them and answer questions and really set out the expectation. Particularly with P&Z, there's a whole laundry list of things that are under their duties and power and authority that they can do, which I'm not sure that has ever been clarified with them unless they did that their own research. So that would be kind of my hopes, not only to just share the vision and things that we discussed at the visioning workshop to help them be prepared and what we're trying to do as it relates to their board and their discipline, but then to also just make sure, it doesn't have to be really elaborate, but just kind of go through what is outlined in the charter and what those authorities are for those boards and commissions would be my second hope for that meeting.
Councilmember Tobias.
On same wavelength as you, Mr. Ellison, when I mentioned this again about getting with our boards and commissions early on in the year. This is something that I brought up again as well in the summer. And I think those dates would work if we do what the mayor suggested by sending group meetings or group through our emails to set up and who can attend, can make it. Of course, we want to encourage everybody to be there, but I think that would really help. And I think those dates, we just have to be very adaptable to those, and so much flexible, but be adaptable to that. Because if this is something that we want to do as a council to get with our boards and commissions, we're going to need to make the extra time to get with them and see the visions on that end. So yeah, I recommend those dates, and I go with that suggestion by sending us meetings.
So economic development and tourism is a lunch. So it's a weekday during the day, just as an FYI. So that might make it challenging for some. I think that we just need to put these on the agenda, and then whoever wants to come can come. But it'll be something that, you know, we'll at least have settled.
And I think by the time these meetings happen, our visioning workshop will be already over, and we're going to be able to, as a council, come together. Even if we're not all there, the direction's already there, the vision's put together. I think the other council members will do a great job of presenting and being there. We're not going to all be able to make all these, but we'll do our best to be there. But if we're not, I think the discussions that we have during the visioning workshop and we finally have that final roadmap will be enough for the other council members to relay that as well. I think we'll be fine.
Is the thought to have somebody come and present afterwards at the council meeting, or have some kind of feedback similar to the conversations about task forces that we've had in the past, so that, you know, afterwards there can be discussion? Or is it, look, this is a meeting, everybody who comes, and if you missed it, you missed it kind of situation?
Would it be possible, and I think that's a good question, and I understand why you're asking it. Would it be possible for those specific meetings to be done in the chambers? So that way they are recorded, and that way everybody will be able to see what they are, not only us, the public and everything. So I know library board typically meets in the library, but that one meeting, they meet in the chambers. Same with Parks Board and all that different type of stuff. So that provides that opportunity for everybody to see what was discussed at that as well. I initially thought you were talking about the Board of Commissions coming and doing a presentation, but I see what you're saying. If everybody doesn't make it, then everybody's going to want to know, you know, that feedback. But what we could do is just have it here, and that would solve that.
Right. Well, we're talking about what I'm seeing is 6 weeks of the most council meetings in 6 weeks that we've ever had since I've been here. Not even close. So I see the smiles from staff, but that's where we're at. So we're just going to either embrace it, lean in, or it's going to be a tough 6 weeks. So, you know.
I hear you, but we talked about this last year, and we mentioned January when we would meet with them. And January's over. So we got to stick to what we said, and we did this last spring and talked about this. So we had to have had the expectation that this was coming. And it is a lot of meetings, I agree, but these people are important.
Right. Any further discussion? All right. So if there are no objections, staff's going to post special meetings for these dates. Actually, we need to discuss the location. I was personally excited to go to the library and meet with them there and the Parks Board where they meet. I really like that because I know they meet in different settings, and I'm about sick of this room half the time. You know, I'd love to go to some of these other places and talk. Your point about recording, though, is well taken. I understand that, but
That way everybody hears every word that was spoken.
right, you know, I'd rather meet where they currently are. To me, that's worth it. But we should probably decide that right now, one way or another.
Scott,
So-
would court interfere with any of this? I think we're okay, right, with the times?
Wednesday it would, and I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm just
during
worried about the
day,
court.
I think we're okay. So
Okay, okay.
Everything is scheduled around court.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Scott.
Economic development is on a Wednesday, though.
Right.
So
They do.
that probably does need to happen where they typically meet.
Which I think they
So
just
if
do
we need-
virtually or upstairs, but
If
we can
need-
record up there, though.
I don't think so.
We can.
No?
We can.
Yeah, I was about to
Yes.
say.
Yes, we did for the P and Z meeting at the last.
Yeah, we
during
did.
the last council meeting.
Oh, no, record. That's the whole
Oh.
reason we're having discussions, Scott.
So we run those meetings on Ring Central, and we have the ability to record on Ring Central.
So we could have them there in those locations.
I mean, if that's the case,
There
we
you
could
go.
just set up a laptop and broadcast and record from anywhere.
Let's do that.
Well, we can do that too. That's fine. It
There
doesn't
we
matter,
go.
as long as it's being recorded.
There's our
That's my-
compromise. So,
All right.
all right,
Enough
sounds
direction,
good.
Scott?
Good.
All right, thank you.
All right, well, there's no action to be taken, but we'll be looking for those special meeting invitations to get posted this week. All right, next up, agenda item number 13, recommendation for an ethics compliance officer in accordance with section 2-275 of the City of Kyle's Code of Ordinances. Ms. Sines.
Mayor and City Council, page signs for the record. The city's ordinances and city charter provide for the city attorney to make a recommendation nomination to City Council for an outside attorney to represent the Ethics Commission related to their functions and overseeing a complaint process and issuing advisory opinions. The prior ethics officer that you had, Monty Akers, has retired. We learned that in January, and we've brought forward for you, for your consideration, Mr. Doug Montgomery, who's also with Mr. Akers' firm, and I've nominated him for your consideration, and if council has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Sines? I have one related to an ethics advisory opinions. So I've heard discussion about whether or not council can, in particular, or staff for that matter, can reach out to our ethics attorney directly and ask for, verbal or written opinions to be issued on any issue. Is there, in the past, I believe the council, numerous council members have gone straight to the ethics attorney for advisory opinions when they know that there's something coming up and they want to make sure that it's spelled out for them so that they can follow whatever the opinion is. Is that not something that we should be doing, or should we be requesting those opinions directly from the city attorney?
So I've experienced it both ways. I'm pulling up the ordinance.
I could probably think of half a dozen council members who've gone directly to the ethics attorney, had an advisory opinion written, and then it's posted either on the website or emailed to, I think actually it has been posted. The opinion gets posted.
Everyone needs to be posted.
Right, gets posted on the website whenever those opinions are
Yes.
written. So I just want to make sure we're clear on what that process is. If a council member, it has the potential to be very helpful to any council member who wishes to utilize it, so.
And forgive me a moment here. And when council members come to me and there is the ethics attorney should be engaged, then we engage those. We engage them in that process as well. So that has occurred, and they have issued advisory opinions at our request after the council member or staff member has come to us. Okay.
It's something that you can email us on, Paige.
I can,
But
and
can
that-
you, but
that-
I just want to, because it's,
Yes.
I've heard the discussion before, and I just know that that's not been the way we've been doing it.
Okay.
And I think that going directly to the ethics attorney is actually appropriate, so that there's not a layer of attorneys, but you are our city attorney for city matters. The ethics attorney is our independent ethics attorney for ethics matters. And so that's it would be good for us to all just kind of be clear, I think, on what that process, myself included. So if you could just send an email when you get that job. Is there other discussion on the nominee? Councilmember Florescale.
This is not for the nominee, just for the agenda item. And I just want to state that I never even knew that we had an ethics attorney until right now. When was the last attorney utilized?
My understanding is the last time they were utilized that I'm aware of is there was an ethics complaint that was handled. I do not recall the year. The pandemic has kind of made things run together. So in the 2019-2020 timeframe is when there was a live complaint that was considered by the Ethics Commission that I'm aware of. And Jennifer may have, yeah, she may have a better idea of that.
Okay, and when did, the one that we obtained, when did he retire?
In January was when I became aware that he had retired. He had been stepping back. When I last spoke to him in the fall, I believe, yes, in the fall, he was still engaged and still planning to serve as Kyle's ethics counsel. He was stepping back from other engagements. In January, I reached back out to him because there were matters arising again, and he advised that he had fully retired.
Okay, so I just want to confirm that council is allowed to utilize this ethics attorney, is that correct?
So my experience, I have sometimes people ask me questions and I respond to them, and I engage the ethics council when I think is appropriate on those questions, and they've issued advisory opinions when I engage them. Going directly to the ethics attorney, let me get you the response to that in writing. I want to look at the ordinance. I don't think there's anything that prohibits that, but I want to look at the ordinance and point you to the section that addresses it.
Okay, and then is this, since we haven't utilized this ethics attorney in a couple of years, do we have a budget for that?
Yeah, there's a legal line item in the council budget.
And can someone just give me an amount on that, please?
Sure.
Not now, just whenever you get a chance. And I think that's all the questions that I have. Thank you.
Sure.
Any motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, moved by Councilmember Ellison, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Rizzo, that we approve the city attorney's nomination of
Doug Montgomery.
To the position of ethics attorney for the city of Kyle. Is there discussion on the motion?
And if we get authorization to execute that engagement letter as well.
And authorization to execute or engage and execute an agreement as well.
Correct.
Did we receive that in the backup?
We just received that from them today. And
I would really like to review that engagement letter before
the terms of it are the same as the prior one. There's a change. It's Mr. Akers merged with another firm, Messer Fort McDonald, and that firm, so they merged with that firm, Messer Fort McDonald, and Mr. Montgomery was with Mr. Akers before the merger and after. So it's the same letter agreement, but with a different firm name, and the hourly rate, instead of being $175 per hour, is $170. That's informational for you. Obviously, you need to see that, but I'm just advising council.
Yeah, because I haven't seen the old one either. So my concern is, work with engagement letters all the time, so there's things in there that I think are really important. And I wasn't aware that there was an engagement letter, although I should know better. So is this something we need right away? Is this something we can vote on next time? I mean,
Well, we have something pending.
well, I think it's important when we vote as a council that we vote like completely aware and educated. I would just hate to get into a situation where we're engaged, where we have an engagement letter that there's things that we don't agree on. It could be very well that I just read it and say, yeah, this is great. But at the same time, I can't say that right now. And so as much as I would love to just say, yes, I think this guy's someone that we could hire, that's hard for me to say without reading an engagement letter.
Okay.
How long is the letter? Page? How many pages?
If I may, the engagement letter is on page 39 of the agenda packet.
Okay, thank you. I was looking for it in the email.
It's item number 14. I'm sorry, 13.
13.
My bad.
Is there a reason why we got this right now?
Because I received it this morning. I received it today.
And do we know what the holdup was? Because this agenda was created Thursday. It's just hard for me. You know what I mean? I know you understand.
I understand.
Yeah, so the backup material, the seven-point item engagement agreement is the agreement that changes the scope of the service. I see this got Doug Montgomery in there, so that has to be,
Yes.
so it is included
Yes.
in the backup, so.
Yes.
But that was just put in today? Because you said you just received it today.
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct.
All right, well, we have a motion, a second. The item's there in the backup, 7 points, so y'all want to vote on it, or do you want to postpone? All right, we have a motion and a second, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 6-1. All right, next up, agenda item number 14, discuss and take action to issue a request for qualifications for the City of Kyle Comprehensive Plan.
Amber Lewis, Assistant City Manager. Good evening. This item is to solicit requests for proposals from professional planning firms to facilitate the creation of the city's comprehensive plan. A task force would be identified by council, and they would participate in the selection of the firm who would do this. Evaluation criteria will include completeness of the submittal, qualifications of the firm and the firm's team, past work, including work done in cities similar to the development patterns and the size of Kyle, community engagement proposal, and past success. And we're going to require that they have a robust community engagement process, letters of recommendation from past clients. And the schedule of events for the selection process is public notice on February 9th, RFQ responses due March 10th. And then the next item, which you will be discussing, is asking council to establish a task force that will have regular communication, 10 meetings with the staff and the firm. And then we hope that the plan would be approved and in effect January 2023.
Okay.
Questions?
Thank you. question number one, so you're talking about a task force. One is a task force responsible for, I guess, being at all the meetings once a firm is selected. The other is a task force tasked with basically helping to select the company out of the RFQ process. So
Correct.
we have struggled as a council for as long as I have been here to have a lot of agreement on this comprehensive plan, the one we have in place or the look and scope of the one to bring forward. So I'm not sure if it makes sense to put any of us on the selection committee, but to allow for staff to go through and bring forward a nominee. And then at that point, we could discuss whether or not we want to assign council to, I guess, once we hire them, if it makes sense at that point or not. I'm not sure that there really is a task force that needs to be created here. And again, that's the next item, but it's related to this. So, Councilor Ellison.
Yes, and I've been along for that ride as well, and I understand your points are well taken, Mayor. And as much as I would love to be a part of this process as well, my initial question, so the agenda item is written request for qualifications, so an RFQ. And I may be oversimplifying this, but essentially the difference between that and an RFP is money. So the qualifications would be just sending us what they can do, their work, and all that, just things that Mrs. Lewis mentioned. We won't know, though, how much it's going to cost for them to do it. That would be the RFP, where they would provide us with a dollar amount to render those services. Am I correct, or am I off base at all?
So I did put in a caveat that if they wanted to provide their cost for services, they could. It would just be in a separate sealed envelope, and then we would open that at the time of the proposal opening. But it does allow staff to pick on the most qualified firm. And so sometimes, I know that attorneys are not, they would fall under RFP. Under the state statute, they have to report what they're going to be compensated for. But the professional services, such as architects and engineers, don't have to report that. So I was hoping to cast a wide net, just depending on whoever could be responsive to this and allow both proposals to come forward.
Okay. I see your logic there. Like I said, that is just my concern, though. It's, we get a best and qualified, and then that's an issue with their allocation, right? Mayor knows where I'm going with this, but so that was just my concern when I did see the agenda item saying request for qualifications, but I understand your explanation, Ms. Lewis.
And maybe the order of operations would be that we would, staff would select the most qualified depending on the qualifications, and then we would interview the firm or talk to them and ask them to bring forward their compensation package so that you all could consider that and the agreement at the same time.
Yeah, that'd be great. A little bit of me is wondering if we could get two maybe options, but that just may be prolonging the issue. Yeah, I feel like that could probably work. I'm in agreement with the mayor, though. I was a part of the last task force that brought forward the comprehensive plan and did all the interviews, and then we got to the council meeting, and I was one of the ones that did not like their performance at that council meeting and rejected that. So I know that frustrated a lot of folks, but at the end of the day, sometimes you don't get everything in the interview process. And when it came for them to play in the game on that Tuesday night, they failed, in my opinion. And I think the council agreed with that at the time. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I'm certainly excited to get this rolling. I guess the only thing, and this is not on there, and we didn't discuss this, and it wasn't issued, was just the planning director's role in this. And I know y'all were doing interviews, as I saw one last Wednesday. So I know that was part of the thing we were also hoping to get going. But I guess this process doesn't really, it can still go forward despite wherever that is right now. So, sorry, I know I'm just talking out loud, but I'm just trying to make myself comfortable with this. But I think I'm good.
Well, one thing that's, Councilor Florescale.
Oh, no. Thank you. My only concern, and I told you this earlier today, and is to make sure that this task force is being brought back to the council, either once a month or maybe every meeting, just to give us updates and to get our opinions, because sometimes the task force can just make up its own mind and not take back into, because they're not coming back to discuss it. So just the importance of making sure that council is still really involved, even though there is a task force, is what's most important to me.
Well, we adopted a policy last council meeting that made that a requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Before we keep going, so that we're doing this the right way, I'm going to bring the next item up concurrently with this one because we're talking about it. So agenda item number 14, we're going to open it up as well. Agenda item number 15, we're going to open up as well. Discussion and possible action regarding establishing a city council-appointed comprehensive plan task force. So now we have both items to discuss. Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
So what I heard earlier was not doing a task force, letting staff vet the companies out, and then bringing the best company to council, because then we could, it's not a done deal until council votes on them and approves it. So I'm kind of good with doing that. I think we need to leave it into staff's hands. I think we need to make sure that we emphasize, though, we want the best. And the reason why is that this job that they're undertaking is very important to the residents and the daily lives of everyone in the city, everyone in here on this dais included as well. So we want the best. We don't want to shortchange ourselves, and make sure that we bring the best companies that bring us the best product when it comes to our comprehensive plan. And that's all I've ever wanted, was the best here, doing this plan, working on it.
Understood, sir. The only other thing I would add is that this item was also contemplating task force, and it doesn't have to be a task force. It could be the Planning and Zoning Commission. It could be whomever council wants, but it needs to be some body who regularly meets with this firm so they can receive constant feedback, so they can keep the process, the plan moving forward. So
my thoughts would be that we go ahead and issue the RFQ. We allow staff to take control, in that which case yours, as far as bringing back a recommendation. And at the time that we select a firm, we can have the discussion again about who that might be. Because I agree, P&Z and comprehensive plan go together, so there's some thoughts there. Maybe council members also, our planning department is growing. We have a new assistant city manager with a direct focus there, which is fantastic. So I think we have what it takes at this point to move this forward. I know we're still working on expanding our planning department, but the time has come to start this project, as far as I can tell. Some might say long past due, so I understand those criticisms. I really do. I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item number 14. Moved by the mayor, seconded by Councilmember Flores Cale. Is there further discussion? You understand that we're not doing a task force at this point? You're good with that? Okay. All right.
And just to make it clear, P&Z will be involved once we do select a company and we're moving forward. The public will be involved, council will be involved. So we're going to have a lot of public information coming in, and we will have the open houses as well. So we'll definitely have a lot of input moving forward.
Well, I think we got a lot of work ahead of us, but this agenda, I know we've struggled as a board through some of these issues and items, trying to figure out our way, and maybe the path we're setting involves a lot of work for ourselves, but I kind of feel like we're starting to get all these pieces together where we're going to try our very best to make an asserted effort to provide some clarity and for staff, for our boards and commissions, for our comprehensive plan, so that developers can look at that. So we've got work ahead of us, but it is good to see some of these things coming together. I will say that.
Yeah. And what I would emphasize is just to make sure we get that planning director on board as ASAP, because we definitely want to be moving forward on this. And this is something that several council members have really emphasized how important it is to them, is this comprehensive plan. So let's get this plan done and let's get it moving forward in a timely manner, because we owe it to the city, we owe it to everybody up here as well.
All right, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right, next up, agenda item number 16, discussion and possible action on a resolution of the City Council of the City of Kyle, Texas, granting consent to the creation of a municipal utility district and the inclusion of the land therein, and approving a consent and development agreement between the City of Kyle, Continental Homes of Texas LP, and wow. Oh, DSC6. Oh my gosh. Shut up. Why can't it be 2 a.m.? I wish it was 2 a.m. right now. Wow. Is that how that's spelled? Yeah.
Because it does look like, I see what you said.
Oh, yeah. For Prairie Lakes Development. Miss Amber Lewis, please proceed.
Yes, sir. Okay, I will give a broad overview. We have the Prairie Lakes folks here tonight, so if y'all have any questions of them and if they want to come up here and talk about their development. Basically, this is a 590-acre development located in the northeast corner of the Kyle ETJ. They are proposing single-family, residential, multifamily, commercial. The base zoning will be R1A. And additionally, this agreement before you will require them to comply with the city's style guidelines. The city will issue all building permits and related inspections, which is something that we don't usually do in the ETJ, but here we will. 4.5 acres will be commercial. They have included the Vibe Trail in their plan, and then they will pay the city a $1 million fee to build it, and then the HOA will maintain it. Street signs in the development will match the city's street signs, and there's a provision that states when the time nears for annexation, they will have to undergo an Army Corps of Engineer pavement maintenance and management assessment, and they will have to bring the roads up to standard according to that report. And finally, they will pay the city a master development fee of $3 million.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? This is the consent agreement to form the MUD.
Correct.
The provisions that you're speaking of with regards to compensation, development standards, they're all in this document? They're bound once the MUD is created, or is there a developer agreement that comes afterwards?
The strategic partnership agreement will come at a later point in time, but the development agreement's in there.
The payment, the question about enforceability of the payment, that's a developer obligation. The developer gets, signs on right away. The MUD has to sign on to that agreement after it's formed, and that's the other party we need for it to be enforceable, because the payment of the master development fee comes after the first bond issuance. So that district signs on after the district is created and the board holds its first organizational meeting. They've got to enter into that agreement, I believe, within 30 days of their organizational meeting, and send the city a signed original copy that they're
So
consented as well.
there will already be an agreement that is agreed on, but we won't be able to execute that agreement until after the MUD is created and there's a board and the board can accept it.
The council and the developer will execute the agreement now after the council approves the agreement, if that's what the council wants to do. So you'll have an agreement after approval by council, just between the city and the property owner and the developer.
Well, but this is the resolution creating a MUD. This is not necessarily an agreement for performance standards, or is it? Or all of those, all of that is in this document?
It's both the resolution authorizing the creation of the MUD, and it's also approval of the consent and development agreement. It's those two items. If you approve the resolution, it refers to, it's subject to the terms and conditions of the development agreement.
Okay. Any further discussion? Motions?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item 16.
All right, it's moved by Mayor Pro Tem Rizzo, seconded by Councilmember Bradshaw, that we approve agenda item number 16. Is there discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
All right, we're going to roll call vote that, please.
Ellison. Mitchell.
Aye.
Parsley. Rizzo.
Aye.
Flores Kale. Bradshaw.
Aye.
Tobias.
Nay.
All right, motion carries 5-2. All right, next up, agenda item number 17, discussion and possible action on a resolution of the City Council of the City of Kyle, Texas, authorizing the filing of a grant application with CAPCOG for Regional Solid Waste Grants Program grant, et cetera. Mr. Earp, thank y'all.
Thank you. Mayor, Council, for the record, James Earp, Assistant City Manager. Tonight's action is a resolution of the council to authorize applying for the grant in support of the CAPCOG grant. This is a solid waste grant that CAPCOG put out a call for in mid-December with a relatively quick turnaround. After looking at the various items that were available for funding through the solid waste grant and taking into account some of the different strategies that we had been working on internally and trying to match those up, one kind of came to the top as what we thought would be a very opportunistic project to put forward. And effectively, that is multifamily recycling, which currently is not available in the city of Kyle beyond a pilot program that the city and TDS had created to partner to prove up that the recycling could work in a multifamily setting. Effectively, the way that it works is a large dumpster that is designated for the commingled recycling materials is placed on site in a multifamily location. There's education and whatnot that goes along with how the recycling program works, and then TDS sends the trucks by on a varied schedule to collect. That pilot program, Jerry was overseeing it in partnership with TDS. I think they had it in a couple of different locations. It proved up to be very worthwhile to both the multifamily apartment complex in this particular case, and TDS. So whenever we went through the application, there were some items that were of priority to CAPCOG for funding. And one of them were projects that would divert materials from landfills, which is exactly what recycling does. So the idea here was, how about we take the pilot program and then we request funding to pay for a year worth of multifamily recycling at up to 20 locations inside the city to encourage the adoption of multifamily recycling citywide, to greatly reduce the amount of material going into the landfill that could be recyclable. Those dollars are well within the requirements of the grant. So that's what the proposal is. The details are effectively, we're just asking for dollars from CAPCOG to specifically pay for the direct dollars associated with having the service provided to the multifamily properties. We currently have 16 active apartment complexes in the city, 7 under construction, and quite frankly, any other thing other than an apartment complex that has multiple persons that live in it, that's considered a commercial type property, could be eligible for a multifamily designation for recycling, such as like rest homes or assisted living, memory care, any of those types of other facilities that have multiple, people who call that their home. So that's the idea, that's the proposal. The resolution does have to be signed because it's supposed to be turned in by February 1st, and it just so happens our meeting was on February 1st. So if the council deems to approve the resolution, the city secretary, I think, is prepared to get the signature now, so I can go scan that and send it off to CAPCOG.
Let's do it.
Do it.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Councilor Ellison, seconded by Councilor Flores Kale. Is there discussion on the motion?
Yeah, just really quick, James, thank you for all your work on submitting the application. These are the partnerships that are really important to us, like CAPCOG, Campo, all these partnerships that we have bring dollars to our city. So it's great that we're in partnership with these organizations as well.
Well, thank y'all for y'all's representation. Again, there's no guarantee that we'll get awarded the grant. Obviously it's competitive, and there are other folks who are competing for the dollars too. But I did get to see the list of all the other grants that had been submitted by the timeline, and I think ours was the only one that was for solid waste recycling. So,
right?
Well, it should go, I'm not sure if everyone on the board's aware, but I don't know how long ago it was when Councilmember Ellison brought forward this idea, and it was really made aware that there is no recycling at multifamily in the city of Kyle and just in general. And so you've been working on that for a while. You should be commended to get to this point because this is really cool. It's really cool. So, any discussion on the motion? Yeah, Jerry as well, that's right. Thank you, Jerry. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 17-0. I have an abstention on this one, so I'm going to turn it forward to Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, so, sorry about that. We had some discussion going. Definitely, sorry. All right, we'll now open up agenda item number 18, correct? 18. It's a second reading and ordinance amending Chapter 53 of the zoning of the city of Kyle, Texas for the purpose of rezoning approximately 45.5 acres of land from RS to PUD, RS 19 acres, MXD 26.5 acres for a property located at 2139 IH 35 in Hays County, Texas, city of Kyle. William Atkins, this is your item, but Scott Sellers, looks like you're gonna take it. Do we need to open up any public reading before this, or since we already, this is second reading?
Yeah,
We're
this is
fine.
second reading, so we've already
Okay.
done that.
You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. So again, this is just second reading. We illustrated this development and the planned unit development, the PUD, in its entirety at the last meeting, so I'm here to answer any questions. There are no changes from the first meeting to this meeting.
Does council have any discussion? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve, but I do have some discussion.
Okay, motion, we have a motion by Councilmember Ellison. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Bradshaw. Discussion?
Yes. Do we recall what the rejection was from the first reading? What was the line of thinking with that? I couldn't remember.
Are you asking who voted nay?
Yeah,
Okay,
and
I
just
think
a
that was
reminder of what
Tobias.
that, and I'm not, I'm just want to be refreshed on the objection so I can.
No, and I thank you, because I was wondering the same thing. I've had people contact me from that area who are worried about the traffic. And so I was teetering on the thought, like, so what is the plan for the roads? I know we probably discussed it, but if we could
Right,
just
yes, ma'am.
touch base on that again.
Right, so the plan in the PUD is for the property owner to build a turn lane within the property itself. So there will be a center turn lane along that portion of BB Road.
And when is that expected to be done?
Well, it's in the PUD. I would assume it's just part of the phase one of development. I'm not sure if it's phased yet, but it's a requirement, so we would make sure that occurred.
Okay, thank you.
That was also one of mine was, you know, these roads that we're trying to get these, they're bad. They need total reconstruction on all of this. And bringing more of this development to those areas, again, BB Road is one that is desperately needing a reconstruction. Okay. And you know, I brought this up many times about we really need to get these developers to utilize helping build these roads if it's going to be for their properties. And I don't think I felt comfortable that we're going in that direction. I know we were looking at widening it or maybe just putting a turning lane, but who was actually going to be fully responsible for that? And that was for Councilman Nelson wanted to know the reason why is because, you know, this is the constant issue that I've heard from others is why can't we get them to benefit by helping us build these roads or getting them to those specs, you know, on that end. And so that was my name.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Yes. So now I remember, bless you. Now I remember the discussion. Before I touch on that, so yeah, we did talk about the center lane through on BB, through the existing part of the project. What about sidewalks along that as well? Because the TxDOT did put that nice, beautiful 12-foot concrete sidewalk that I like to run along the interstate. There's going to be that as well.
So, yeah, it's a 10-foot sidewalk that TxDOT put in. The developer is responsible to continue that same 10-foot section all the way up the length
Interstate, what about up BB?
on the frontage road. BB would be part of the road improvements, and Will, what's the width on BB? 5 foot.
Okay. So, and I certainly understand, and I hear the comments about traffic and developers helping us improve their roads. They do pay adjacent lane mile fees. You know, the expectation can't be for a developer to reconstruct an entire road that multiple things tie into. So that's why the adjacent lane mile fee comes in. But as well, I brought this up before, we have probably the most robust plan we've had going into road infrastructure. So, you know, one of the things I would encourage my colleagues is remind them of what we did this past summer and what we did in this budget. We put in millions of dollars to engineer and design all the roads that Mr. Sellers, I think he even sent an email to us about it, but we talked about it. That is where that's going to happen. So we're hoping to get at least, I think it was 30% design development by August in order to show voters on all those roads, including BB, Bunton, Goforth, Old Stagecoach, Windy Hill, extension of Marketplace, all those different things. So every voter I talk to about streets, I tell them about that and prepare them for what's coming. And we've known that since we discussed this last summer at the budget workshop. So with that in mind, you know, we've always, for as long as I've been on council, and I'm sure even before, there was discussion of the chicken and the egg type of thing. Do you build the road and reconstruct it first? Does the development come in first? What has that? But this is the first time certainly since I've been on council, and even before I was on council watching council, I've never seen a plan in place to address the road infrastructure as these developments are coming online like we're doing now. I've never seen it, I mean, Scott's been here, obviously. I've never seen that happen. So I think that's important to remind and inform our residents of what we've been doing, what we did last summer, what is in the budget this year, and what is to be expected to come when we call the question in August for the November ballot. And so for me, and I certainly hear it, I live on the east side as well. I talk to those residents all the time about those roads and different things. We know that we can't fund reconstructing these roads in an annual budget. We understand that. We have to help residents understand why that is the case and why we need to bond for these different things. But it's going to be a robust bond. There's a lot. It's ambitious, but I think it addresses a lot of our road infrastructure issues that we've had if the voters agree.
And that's all true. I get that point. But it is still a bond, and it still has to go before the voters. And they could still say no. They could still say no, and we're back to square one.
But we couldn't pay for them otherwise.
And so that's the concern as well. Because that is all, when I'm talking to my residents as well, I hear the two R's, okay? Relief and roads and relief. They need relief on their water bills. They need relief on their tax bills. It's getting very expensive for a lot of our residents to be living here, is what I'm hearing. And these roads don't help at all. Okay, and so that's what not only do I experience driving on that everywhere, all over Kyle. It's all over Kyle, not just East Kyle. It's the west and downtown. So it's trying to get that understanding of if we're going to continue to do this and have the development, where do we get to the point to where we're bringing in more housing, we're bringing in more of this, we're bringing in more traffic, we're bringing in more issues with our infrastructure. So I'm trying to look at it in those eyes. And like I said, I know we're proposing a bond, and I understand that, but there's really no guarantee. You know, Of course, I would love for this to be able to go through because we really need this. But again, it's just, there's the reality and the probability. And that's the way I look at all that. It's what it is that our residents are really not only wanting, but this is what they need. They're needing these. And so that's kind of why I base a lot of my votes on.
I understand. And I think it would just, the thing, we have to have these conversations to help residents understand the scope and parameters we're working on. If it's not a bond, the only thing we can do is what we've done on Button Road, essentially. That's all we have the capacity to do within the city. We can't contract out and reconstruct a road in the annual budget, so there's no way to do that. We can't have a developer completely reconstruct and build a new road that goes well beyond their property. The bond, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Sellers or Pervez, that's the only way we get that done. And so we have to have that hard and difficult conversation with residents. Yeah, it's a tough vote. I was over here this past Saturday meeting with the downtown residents and having this exact conversation about the streetscape in Center Street. We have to have that real difficult conversation with them that this is how we can only pay for this. We have to help them understand that it's not through a developer building and reconstructing a road that goes all the way down well past their property. It's not going to be funded in an annual budget. The bond is the only way to reconstruct and build complete streets where we want them, curb to curb, sidewalks, street lighting. That's what we want. The same thing I hear from East residents about, west side streets and different things. That's what this bond is going to do. Otherwise, the only capacity we have is what we saw from Harper and his crew, and I'm not downing what Harper and his crew did, but that's not a complete street. It's not curb to curb, it's not sidewalks, it's not street lighting, it's not all of that stuff. This is how we get there. And so we have to have that difficult conversation with residents.
So I just want to add a little bit as well, because it's not just a bond that we're going after, we're also going after federal dollars. So with the infrastructure bill that's coming forward, we've got ways of funding the bridges that are coming to us, roadway improvements as well. We've got the county bringing in 110. We haven't talked about it, that as well, something that probably be coming to fruition really quick. But this property itself is only taking how many feet on BB Road? And it's real close to I-35, maybe about half a block. So you're not talking about them being 2 or 3 miles on BB, congesting the road back there, coming back. They actually have a quick access to this frontage road on I-35, and the on-ramp is right there. I mean, it's right there. They're not congesting BB Road. There's not being implying there. But one thing they are doing is they're giving us a center turn lane. They're giving us the 2 lanes and the sidewalks and some lighting there. As we're bringing all the possibilities forward on how to do these roads, one of the things I want to remind everybody is that we're going to be 30% DD ready. That means we're going to have the architecture in place to make these roads come to fruition. Whether it's going to be through a bond or it's going to be through federal dollars, we're going to do everything we can as a city to get these roads funded. And the reason why is we need them. It's not waiting on the infrastructure or telling people not to build. We need the roads now. And we're going to work on those roads and bring them to fruition. So whether we build this development or not, we still have to work on this. But the more infrastructure we have in place, the less that lessens the tax burden on everybody in the city of Kyle. So it's something to keep in mind as we're building that. Those people are also absorbing some of that, burden on the future bonds that we're bringing forward. So if we stop building, you're putting that burden on just the people that are here. So we got to continue to build. We can't put a moratorium on building just because we think that we're congesting a road a little bit, and it's not the way to look at it as a city. We need to look at how we're going to pay for that infrastructure that's needed now. And so just my 2 cents on it. Anybody else? Councilman Raquel.
Thank you. Okay, so I just want to touch on a few things that I heard during this conversation. So just the terms bond and federal dollars, those are not for sure.
Correct.
Those are assumptions, right? So we're literally putting all of our eggs in that basket without knowing how we will eventually fund that road, which we all can agree needs to be updated. Additionally, maybe the talk that we need to have isn't with the residents. Maybe it's with each other and with developers. Because the truth of the matter is, whether we put that development there or not, if the road doesn't get fixed, the residents still have to deal with it. And I know you guys think it's just right there to 35, but who says they're just gonna go to 35 and leave? We're trying to make Kyle more than just what do they call it, a bed home, or, you know, we're trying to make it to where they need to go to the hospital, which is right up the street, and they have to go down BB Road. Or maybe they need to go to school, which is right up the street, down BB Road. Maybe they need to go to Walmart, which is right up the street, down BB Road. Guess what? You can't go 35 and go back the other way. So what you have to do is go down BB Road to get to that other place. And if I'm reading this correctly, Exhibit 1 says there's a maximum residential density of 40 units per buildable acre. So how many cars is that? How many people is that are gonna be on that road that we are hoping that either bonds or federal dollars cover to fix that? So my question is, yes, my question would be, do we talk to the residents or do we talk to developers and ourselves? Because just saying, hey, this is something that the residents need to accept and pay for isn't the only solution. Is it a solution? Yes. Is it one that I'd like to expand on? Absolutely. But that is not the only solution, and that is not a reality. That is a hope that we all have. If it doesn't happen, though, it's Councilmember Tobias who hears from all his residents. And I've been down that road. I drive that road probably 3 times a week. It is not a fun road. So unfortunately, the council before us did not plan for this kind of density, and those roads were never updated. That is a situation we have to deal with. And bonding and federal dollars are not the only solution. I heard a moratorium just because there's a little backup. I have probably half the city that would disagree that there is just a little backup on these roads. There is a lot of backup. You ask anybody down 150, you ask anybody down BB, you ask anybody down Center Street, it's everywhere. It's not an isolated issue.
So are you proposing a moratorium on the city for building?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, what other options are there?
That's what you're leading to, is a moratorium on city. So my deal is, are you just gonna stop building? You're gonna tell all these people, projects and landowners that they can't build on their property?
I think it's ridiculous that it has to be either or. Someone said, oh, we have to do a moratorium or we have to let them all in. That is really closed-minded thinking.
No, you're the one saying that.
No,
that
I'm
you're
not.
gonna
I
close the
never even,
moratorium.
what I said was, you brought it up. You brought it up in the aspect that there's just a little traffic on the road, which I know darn good and well that is not the truth. There is a lot of traffic, and that's facts. So what I'm saying is, should we be depending on bonds? Should we be depending on federal dollars for a side of town that everybody knows needs to be fixed? I would say no.
So how are you gonna pay for the infrastructure?
What other options are
What's
there
the
to
option
pay
to pay
for
for the
it?
infrastructure?
Maybe, I mean, if we all sat down and if we talked about it and thought about it the same way we're gonna talk and think about the bonds and commissions, I promise you, we could probably come up with a solution. Maybe we sit down with staff and say, hey, what are our options? But to sit up here and act like those are the only 2 options is ridiculous.
We've been sitting down with staff during our master transportation plan, during our visioning workshops. We have had these conversations, and this is what's gotten us to this point. That's why we're gonna be at 30% DD ready. We've had the conversations, and that's why I'm asking, what else are you proposing?
Can we ask Mr. Sellers to weigh in on what other options there are possible? He's a professional, he's been doing this a long time, Pervez as well. What other options could we have to funding complete street roads and reconstructing these roads outside of what has been mentioned?
Well, let's back up. You know, I think it was 2013 where the council really looked at their road network as per, I want to say it was the 2010 Transportation Master Plan. It said, what are the most critical roads in the city that we have to fund? And there were multiple roads identified at the time: Burleson, Lehman, Philomena Extension, et cetera. And I believe it was about 2013, 2014 when the residents of Kyle were approached for the same question: how do we fund this? Residents authorized at the time up to 21-cent tax increase to fund these roads. Now, we timed the market well, and we ended up with about a 7-cent increase for roughly $40 million, Pervez? About $40 million of road projects, and built the roads that were the most pressing at the time. The update of the Transportation Master Plan has provided another group of roads that are the next pressing in the city. Now, Traditionally, again, we would look at general obligation debt to fund these roads. We have an opportunity now with federal dollars and state dollars as two additional funding sources. So we have been to TxDOT as a partner. We have been to Campo as a partner. We have been to Hays County as a partner. And we have also looked at federal sources that are available in this biennium that have not been available in the past. You know, the infrastructure bill, potentially the Build Back Better bill. So there are additional sources of funds that if we are ready for now, we have access to at least more of a chance. Beyond that, I'll look to Pervez as the, you know, we're kind of scratching our head. And the reason why we do that is because, you know, having a developer in this sense build another lane of traffic is roughly the cost of the adjacent lane mile fee. So roads cost a lot of money. We're talking multiple hundreds of millions of dollars here that literally is too big of a lift for the development community, the taxpayers at Kyle, and even Campo. So we have to go to all the sources that we know of to find these funds, and we have. You know, we have the rail siding relocation project with Hays County, Campo that are you know, jointly funding that project. We have FM 110 bypass, which is a county project, and they've worked well. Dacey Lane is being constructed by the county. We've got major roads that are already being built by our partners. Now it comes to city. How do we fund these projects? Developers, to your point, we have always thought that development should pay its own way and more. The last approval, just 15 minutes ago, we received $3 million additional from that development for adjacent infrastructure. So wherever we can, we try to put development, the cost of the roads, et cetera, on the back of the development. I think it's great that we are getting a third lane out of BB, at least for, you know, the length of the development. There will be additional development happening in this area, and we will put as much of the project cost onto those property owners or developers as we can. But the type of road, the size of road is much larger than any individual development can bear, unless we add more density, right? So then we have that other equation. You add more density, you add more people to the road. So, you know, it's a balancing act. It's all part of trying to plan as well as we can. And I totally agree with Councilmember Ellison. We're in a better place right now than we probably have ever been from our planning perspective and understanding what our future needs are and how to get those dollars that are available.
May I also state, since the bonds and, because they're sitting here saying, hey, this is what we need, this has to be the way or we're not going to be able to get it, but what is the city's plan C if the bonds and the federal money do not come in? Because that is a reality. So the fact that everybody is scared that it could not happen tells me that we probably should prepare for that.
So new roads are typically funded by developers, and the way we do that is by special districts. So that could be tax increment reinvestment zones, could be Chapter 380, 381 reimbursements. So we have a way for new infrastructure to be funded by special district incentives. Existing roads like BB, where they're not necessarily the responsibility of any new development occurring, that's where we rely on our adjacent lane mile fee and outside dollars. So you'll see on the map here, we have existing roads, some new, like the RM 150 bypass, but we have multiple overpasses to fund as well that are, you know, public. So whatever is public, what is a Plan C if it's not tax and it's not Campo, we slow down. And maybe that's what you're talking about as the middle ground, not a moratorium, but these roads will just continue to stay in their current condition with growth that is inevitable. We cannot stop the growth. So the roads stay in their current condition until we can fund them one at a time. Some roads being, you know, $80 million, like Seton Parkway extension is $80 million, engineer estimate. Some roads $137 million, like the RM150 bypass. Some roads are a lot less, 25 to 30 million, like Old Stagecoach Road. So we identify the highest priority road, and we save and budget for those in each fiscal year. That's how we do it.
That was an excellent answer. That was a really good answer, and that is the reality that I think we all need to think about when we vote on this, is what you said. Like, do we want to slow down? No, I don't think we do. And I think the residents feel like they don't want to pay higher taxes, and I get it. And maybe it's just because they don't understand. You know, and I'm not saying it's wrong or it's right to do a bond. I'm just saying there's a huge possibility that people could just be like, I don't want to pay extra money, and that's reality. And there's also reality that maybe we won't get federal funding. So your answer of this is what's going to happen if we don't get this funding, that is the reality that I want everybody to understand. That is what could happen.
Right.
So thank you.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I understand. I think that's, and maybe Mr. Sellers put it more eloquently than me, Councilmember Rizzo, but that is the challenge. And that's why I say there, and I've been going through this for a while. I know what can and can not be done. I've looked to Scott and Pervez on other options. There are no really other options if we want to reconstruct existing roads. Then those options, and yeah, they're tough. Residents said to me on Saturday, that's a tough question to ask the voters to raise their taxes, or but that's the tough question, and it goes to them, and ultimately the majority wins on that. But once again, this is just the best plan I've seen the city put together in the 12 years I've been living here.
Well, with that, I appreciate everybody's feedback on that, from Mayor Pro Tem to Ms. Flores-Cale, thank you, and Councilman Nelson and Scott. These are tough conversations, and it is hard for me because, again, yes, these are people in my area. There's accidents that happen on those roads all the time. I mean, so, but I understand looking at it from a big perspective. There's a lot of these roads in Kyle, so I'm not just trying to just narrow down just east side and west Stagecoach and so forth. But again, it's coming to the reality that our people are really struggling financially, and they do drive on these roads that are very dangerous, especially at night. So we have to utilize as much resources as we can, just like we did with the CIP projects, and finding different ways if we have to. Again, the infrastructure bill, yes, it's getting knocked out in Washington, but there's no guarantee. Same thing with the bonds, but we just got to have those hard conversations there about getting the roads, and that's why it's a concern. Again, like you said, the more houses you have, the average home has about 3 to 4 cars per household. So within 3 houses, you've got about what, 6, 7, 8 cars in 2 houses. So that's just that much traffic. But not to try to get off too much on the subject. I know we're taking a vote on this, but that's just one of my main concerns on why there was a nay vote last time.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for your feedback, Councilor Tobias. Is there any other discussion? Okay, we got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Can we get a roll call vote on that? I think anybody can call that.
Let's go and do a roll call, Jennifer. And before we get to roll call, is there any other discussion? So first of all, I just want to say thanks, Scott, for the elaborating the way you did is great. One of the things I just want to add is that, as a council, it's bringing all the information forward to the voters. It's too easy to just say no to something just to appease your voters. That's easy. It's when you say yes to something and make the hard decisions that people respect you for, because sometimes it's not real easy up here. Do I want to say yes to everything? No, I don't. But I know if there's a project and it's coming forward and it's bringing us roads, it's bringing us lighting, it's bringing us sidewalks, we've got to start a little bit at a time. This will give us a little bit of a start on BB Road. and then the next project will give us some more. So if the city's not funding it all, developers are funding as well. So we do have to take these hard votes as well. It's real easy to just vote no and say, you know what, I'm appeasing my voters and I'm good, but when you make the hard decisions is when it's the best. I just wanted to throw that out.
I might want to just add that, you know, the development itself, we didn't really talk about tonight. We've talked about it in prior meetings, but, you know, there is a strip of restaurants along the frontage road that are anticipated there, restaurants that we have been, you know, hoping to bring to Kyle. So, you know, I know that that's something that we have looked at for the last several large developments, and we will continue with the plan here on this development, as well as vertical mixed use, you know, development, so to bring dining and retail.
Can we talk about how many houses will be there, or apartments?
Units, Will, how many units total are entitled to the I can't give you an accurate number.
Okay. Can we say less than 500? Okay.
I just don't have a number.
Right there.
What's that?
This item.
Patrick, how many from that? I don't know how many you're planning.
Simple multiplication, you're going with 4 units per total acre times 36 acres, or that it's about 1440. But that's not an accurate number.
No, because that's.
Does not take into account parking, does not take into account landscaping, discover.
Patrick.
Well, yeah, sorry. Shut them up.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Mayor Pro Tem, council members, my name is Patrick Reardon. I represent one of the 3 developers of this property. We're not the owners. We have a contract for 16 acres that we want to build multifamily with a combination of VMU and retail. We've agreed to the current terms with the way the PUD is written. If it is, and you'll have to, if it's 40 units per buildable acre, I think that, in my opinion, that applies just to the multifamily and the VMU portion. Don't you agree with that? It wouldn't include the strictly retail portion. There's about 30 acres buildable in the VMU and multifamily. That would be 1,200 units, but the way the PUD is written, there you all are asking for the ground floor facing to BB and facing west to the retail portion to be commercial retail property. So in my mind, that would preclude the ground floor of those buildings. That would be, we're thinking they're 4-story. So that'd be about 25%. So I think the truer number to maximize it would be 900, but parking is going to be the limiting factor on this property and how it parks for that money. The PUD is also asking for a certain number of parks per retail square foot, per 1,000 square foot, which takes another portion of that out. So it'll be a combination of developing the parking, the cost, and the number of units that will drive that number. But the numbers I've described to you would be absolutely maximum numbers and probably would require elevated parking structures to do so, which changes the equation somewhat on how you make the numbers work on it, okay? Thank you.
All right, we've got a roll call vote. Jennifer?
Tobias,
Nay.
Flores Kale, Bradshaw,
Aye.
Parsley,
Aye.
Mitchell, oh, he's recused. Rizzo,
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Motion passes 5-1. All right, so last item, do we have anything else in executive session? Okay, so we'll now recess to executive session. Can somebody read it, please?
Pursuant to Chapter 551 Texas Government Code, the City Council reserves the right to convene into executive session from time to time as deemed necessary during this meeting. The City Council may convene into executive session pursuant to any lawful exception contained in Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, including any or all of the following topics: pending or contemplated litigation, or to seek the advice of the city attorney pursuant to Section 551.071. Prairie Lake Strategies, have we talked about that? Nope, okay. So 807 West Center Street. Legal claims and complaints made by John Ferreira. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to call the meeting back to order. There was no action taken during executive session. There'll be no action taken now. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned.